familiarly known as GCP. In the world of clinical research, GCP forms the foundation of ethical and scientifically sound trials. It ensures the rights, safety, and well being of study participants, and thus the data generated are reliable and credible. Now, I would like to welcome Dr. Siddhalingappa CM, Principal, Professor, and Head of the Department of Pharmacology of Subbaiah Institute of Medical Sciences, to welcome the gathering.
Resource person Dr. Ashok Shenai, and also one more resource person, Dr. Santosh Kumar. Dr. Ashok Shenai is Professor of Pharmacology working in Kasturba Medical College, Mangalore. He has got more than 25 years of teaching experience. He has been awarded more than 5 times the best teacher, and he is involved in more than 85 clinical trials globally, and he has got 60 plus national and international publication. More importantly, he is the basic requirement to become eligible for university examination, and there will be online and offline GCP. Once you complete your post graduation, when you join any medical institute, if you want to be a part of institutional ethical committee, their training in GCP offline is mandatory. So number one, it is the prerequisite for becoming the eligibility for writing the university exam. Number two, for your lifetime, you will be qualified to become the member of any institutional ethical committee. And once again, I welcome all the participants for this workshop. I hope you will be enriched with all the things related to research and what is a good clinical practice. And at the end of each session, there will be interactive session for 5 minutes, so you can clarify your any doubts then and there only. And it will be there only for half day. So probably because we are half an hour late, it will go up to 1:30. After 1:30, again, lunch is arranged in the same place in the top floor of the college, that is in the community medicine department. I hope you people will enjoy the learning session for the half day. Thank you, and once again, welcome to the workshop. Thank you.
Faculty members and dear participants, it's my pleasure to welcome you to this good clinical practice workshop organized by our Department of Pharmacology. Today's theme covering ICH GCP R3 ICMR 2017 guidelines, NDCT rules 2019, and ethical aspects of informed consent, vulnerability, privacy, and confidentiality is central to conducting responsible and credible clinical research. Clinical studies form the backbone of medical advancement, but they must always be guided by ethical integrity and scientific rigor. As researchers and clinicians, our foremost duty is to protect the rights, dignity, and safety of participants who place their trust in us. We are privileged to have with us Dr. Ashok Shenai K. from KSMPCON Mangalore, who is Professor of Pharmacology with vast experience, and Dr. Santosh Kumar from SCMCH Chenpatna, both distinguished academicians who bring vast experience in pharmacological research and ethics. We look forward to their insights. I congratulate the Department of Pharmacology for organizing this workshop, which strengthens our institutional commitment to ethical and quality-driven research. To our young researchers, may today's learning inspire you to conduct studies that are scientifically sound, ethically responsible, and socially relevant. Thank you, and I wish the workshop great success.
Now, I would like to introduce our today's first speaker, Dr. Ashok Shenai, currently working as Professor and former Head of Department of Pharmacology, Kasturba Medical College, Mangalore. With over 24 years of experience in clinical research and education, he has participated in 80 plus global trials and led 15 bioequivalence studies, and he has 60 plus publications. He is a chairperson of Central Ethics Committee, Nittei University. He is a certified GCP trainer and has received the ISCR Hall of Fame Award and Global and Good Teacher Award 5 times for his outstanding contributions to pharmacology and clinical research. He continues to mentor researchers across India in good clinical practice and regulatory compliance. Now I request Dr. Ashok Shenai to deliver his talk.
This conference for giving us an opportunity to interact with all of you. This is my passion, and I love interacting with the young budding researchers and tell them what is there in place for them with reference to ethical standards. Dear postgraduates, when you took seat here for post-graduation, you were not categorized into, okay, you want to do thesis, okay, you come this side. You don't want to do thesis, dedicate yourself to the patient care, okay, you go that side. No. You have to do thesis, you have to do research. Research is an integral part of you. It is an inseparable part of you. You have to do research. There is no way you can get away with research. You might say, why are you putting this research on us? I believe in patient care. I want to do patient care. Sumne yaake ishtu pressurize marta iddira. Why can't I do only patient care? Why I have to do research? Okay, sorry, still you have to do research. Okay, there is no way. If at all you feel, no, I just can't stand research, it's impossible for me. Every morning when you get up, chant, I love research, some 50 times or 100 times depending upon your need. Probably after a month or so, you'll start loving research. Because even in future, if you want to join a corporate hospital also, probably they'll be running some DNB program or some fellowship, which requires publication once again, and you have to do research. In medical colleges, I don't have to say, for promotion from assistant to associate, associate to professor, you need research, you need publications. And institutions like mine, Manipal, for my monthly salary, I need publications. We have performance-based pay, and if I have to get my full monthly salary, I have to have publications. Otherwise, my pay will be cut. So, and this will happen everywhere. It's a matter of time, that's it. Okay, so now I told you that research is an inseparable, integral part of you. When something is thrusted upon you, you tend to find shortcuts. Okay, I have to do it, no? I'll do it somehow. You tend to find shortcuts. And to misuse this, there are so many people who are waiting on the other side of this virtual world, telling, you give us the data or you give us whatever your requirements, we will give publications. When you want publications? 2 days? Okay, 48 hours. Martivi. You want within a month? Okay, we will do it. Okay, and there are people who run their businesses through this. The idea and the objective of these kind of training sessions is not to make you fall prey for these predators and to tell you what is to be done, what should not be done, what is an ideal way to do it. That is why NMC made it mandatory to train you, to tell you what is to be done in the field of research and what should not be done. Disclaimer. When I say good clinical practice, probably many of you think good clinical practice is something, being nice to the patients, being sympathetic, empathetic, being available to them into 24/7, prescriptions not being governed by any vested interest. Okay, probably you have all these thoughts. I'm sorry to say, good clinical practice is not that if you're thinking about whatever I told just now. It is something to do with the research. Ideal terminology is good clinical research practice, but however, the term GCP, good clinical practice, is in vogue, so let us carry with that. Actually, it should have been good clinical research practice. It is a standard for planning, initiating, performing, recording, oversight, evaluation, analysis and reporting of clinical trials that provides assurance that the data and the reported results are reliable and that the right, safety and well-being of the trial participants are protected. Whatever you do in clinical research, okay, those clinical PGs, obviously you will be doing clinical research. Those are in pre-para. Some of you might be doing animal research. This is not applicable to you. Nevertheless, if you are not trained in GCP, You shall not do clinical research. In the sense, you shall not touch the patient from research point of view if you are not trained in GCP. And the right safety and the well-being of the trial participants are protected, and you generate a reliable result. Statistician gave a sample size of 150. 2 years is the time available for your research work, because 6 months deciding the final topic, etc. 6 months before the university exams, you will have to submit your thesis. So, total available time is only 2 hours. 1.5 years over, only 75 sample size is met with. What to do now? Go to the library, multiply it by 2, 150 over. Gross violation of GCP. This is misconduct, research misconduct, scientific misconduct. University or your respective colleges may take appropriate action if this scientific misconduct is detected. Obviously, it will be detected. If a guide is vigilant, it will be detected. Hence, please don't think it is mandatory, we are pushed into this, it's only half day. Please take home the message, whatever you are supposed to do, don't get into trouble unnecessarily. Multiple bodies have put GCP guidelines. ICH GCP, International Council for Harmonization, that is ICH. The first guideline came in 1996. In 2016, the R2 came, the second division, with the 13 principles. Currently, R3, that is with the 11 principles, that is applicable today. Indian GCP guidelines are quite old, 2001. Actually, last year, the draft they were published. I mean, in the sense, it was out for a public comment. But till now, nothing has happened. So, now only 2 months left. I don't think so. Something will happen in 2025. Probably that question mark will become 26 soon. WHO also got GCP guidelines with the 14 principles, and ASU GCP. Yes, Ayurveda, Siddha, Unani. Don't think you work or you study in a medical college which runs MBBS, MD programs, modern medicine, and you can't do ASU projects, Ayurveda, Siddha, Unani projects. You can very much do, provided the drug dispensing is done by the respective physician. Supreme Court has told very clearly, Ayurveda physicians cannot prescribe modern medicine, modern physicians cannot prescribe Ayurveda medicines. Hence, you can very much do research in Ayurveda, Siddha, Unani, or any of these Ayush streams. Funding is also available easily these days. But the drug dispensing has to be done by the respective physician. ICH GCP, I would say, is the mother of all GCPs. It is applicable throughout the globe. In India or every country, they can adopt as per their requirement, and we have Indian GCP, which is quite old, I told you. Now, I told you we are in R3. So many things led to the development of this R3. Why R3? Why that revision was required? I'll just throw a light on why this came. ICH E6 guidelines fail to recognize variations in the level of risk of participants in different types of trials and fails to allow flexibility in managing the risk. This means risk involved in oral medication, type 2 diabetes patient, outpatient, and the risk involved in gram-negative sepsis, patient is in the ICU, intravenous route of administration, biological is the investigational product. You can't compare these two. I mean, if you put these in the same balance, it is something like comparing apples and oranges. Type 2 diabetes, oral medication, I am not saying you don't have to be vigilant, but you can be less vigilant. You don't have to worry so much. Gram-negative sepsis, the disease itself has mortality so high. Intravenous route of administration has its own risk. Biological has its own risk. Hypersensitivity is so common. So, you can't put these together in the same balance. In the sense, one size fits all approach is not suitable for different types of trials. And who does the clinical trials, clinical research? Yes, company sponsored clinical trials, company gives everything. They give protocol, they give investigational products, they give money, they give everything. But who does the trial? It is investigators like me and you working in a medical college. Then why we are not involved in the decision making processes? Why you are involving only the company people and the regulator and whatever the conclusions you tell us, involve us also, academics. All this was taken into consideration. Moreover, R2 was outdated. I'll tell you, I'll give an example and tell you how it was outdated. Explosion of decentralized clinical trials, e-consent, IP delivery. I'll give you a case history wherein you can understand what all these means. Globalization of the trials, multi-regional oversight, cross-border compliance. Probably a company is doing clinical trials throughout the globe. Maybe 50 centers in the US, 100 centers in India, maybe 50 in European Union, maybe another 50 in Southeast Asia. All the centers have to do the trial in the same way. At the same time, each country's rules are different. Law of the land is ultimate. So this has to be respected, and the cross-border compliance also has to be there. Lot of technological innovation happened in the last 20 years. The last revision was 2016. So almost 19 years. So much of digital documentation and technological innovation happened, but this GCP guidelines R2 didn't have provision for all this. And the data reliability and the participant protection. For all these purposes, there was a need to develop or update these guidelines. Okay, have a look at this. This will tell you exactly what I meant by the previous, whatever I mentioned, those points. Read it. Look at those terminologies: decentralized clinical trial, e-consent platform, IP shipped directly to the patient's home, remote monitoring, data collection. I am from Bangalore, and I'm sure you know the geography. We share border with Kerala. COVID taught us a lot of lessons. We have a lot of patients from Kerala who participate in clinical trials. I mean, there are a good number of patients. So we were doing clinical trials. During COVID, there are 14 roads or paths to travel from Kasaragod to Mangalore, Kerala to Karnataka. And all the 14, lot of mud was put over that, impossible even to walk those ways. There is a complete ban on movement from Kerala to Mangalore or Mangalore to that side. Now what about these patients? How do they come for evaluation? How do we do their lab testing? How do we supply them the study medication? Should we discontinue the trial? What to do? So people thought about it. Then we asked them, do you have any accredited laboratory in Kasaragod? They said, yes, it is available. Then we told them, please go there, get your lab test done and send us the report by email. And we told the courier company, I mean the sponsor, shipped the investigational product, that is study medication, directly to patient's home. Then we did a video calling to the patient over the mobile and told her how exactly to take the medication, how exactly it looks like, how to label it or whatever the instructions we gave over video calling. So all these became now the principles and it is been published. Actually, COVID taught us a lot of lessons. R2 doesn't have provision for all this. So there was a need to give provision for all this. Even though COVID is gone, even though we have come back to that state pre-COVID, but still the lessons learned from COVID are still valid. We can very much do, it can save time, it can save a lot of money also, travel time, money, etc. See, these are some technological innovation. E-source data capture, blockchain-based audit trails, e-consent platforms. I mean, why the patient has to come all the way from, say, Kasaragod to Mangalore and take the medication or probably some consent or etc. It can be done very much e-consent. R2 doesn't allow all this. So, in 2017, GCP Innovation Reflection Paper was put. In 2019, E6 Expert Working Group was established. 2020, Stakeholder Engagement. Yes, they involved academicians as well as patient representatives. See, HIV positive patient, who else can understand the plight of HIV positivity than the patient himself? How much ever you try to put yourself into their shoes, you can't feel what they are going through. So involve them, let them express what is happening with them. I mean, just I gave an example, HIV, there are plenty of conditions, stigmatic diseases. And the draft principles were published in 2021, in 23 endorsed by the members of the ICH, 24 final adoption, and 6th January 2025, it was endorsed by the regulatory members after step 4. Step 4 is the final step. After that, it is published. So this is applicable to interventional clinical trials of investigational products that are intended to be submitted to regulatory authorities. That means it is mainly for clinical trials. Now, if at all you are thinking, if it is for clinical trials, why are you telling us? Nevertheless, other interventional clinical trials of investigational products that are not intended to support marketing authorization, means what you are doing, maybe PG thesis or maybe for promotion or maybe faculty research. For all these purposes also, GCP is something like passport. Without GCP, you shall not involve yourself in clinical research. Principles are applicable across clinical trial types and settings and remains relevant as technological and methodological advances occur. There is one annexure, Annex 1, how principles can be appropriately applied to clinical trials. This is the website. Whenever you have time, just browse through. It's a nice to browse through, www.ich.org. In the title also, and in some places, I mentioned the term E6. It looked like some code word. So let me decode it in 1 or 2 minutes. There are 4 major categories and ICH topic codes. If it is something to do with the quality, then you abbreviate it as Q. If it is something to do with the safety, S, efficacy, E, and multidisciplinary, M. Under quality topic code, there are 14 guidelines. For example, if you want to refer to good manufacturing practice, then you have to refer to the 7th guideline, that becomes Q7. If you have to refer to pharmaceutical quality system, then you have to refer to the 10th guideline, that becomes Q10. Likewise, in the efficacy topic, safety topic code, there are 12 guidelines. For example, if you want to refer to genotoxicity studies, it is the 2nd guideline, it becomes S2. Then pharmacology studies, there are 2 sections, S7A and S7B. In the efficacy topic code, the 6th guideline, it talks about good clinical practice. That is why you call E6. Suppose somebody asks you, are you E6 trained? And that time if you fumble saying that E6, what is that? I didn't get you. Okay, then he will get an impression that you are not GCP trained or E6 trained. Please tell them, if somebody asks you, what are you trained in E6? That means they are asking, are you GCP trained? Yes, I am GCP trained. I have highlighted few more guidelines here, E3, E8 and E9. Why I highlighted this is, the R3 is a good amalgamation of E3, E8 and E9. So many principles are adopted in this R3. That is why, especially pharmacology PGs or pharmacology personnel, please refer this also, read this. This is an important document for you. Others, for you, it is only E6. There are totally 21 guidelines under the efficacy topic code, and under multidisciplinary there are 15 guidelines. So ICH is an ocean of guidelines, but for us academicians, doctors working in medical colleges doing clinical research, it is only the E6 or the good clinical practice guidelines that is applicable. This is the table of content of R3. Looks simple: introduction, principles, annex, glossary, appendices, done. And annex, there are 4 items, done. Only 1 slide, 1 page, that's it. But it is a huge document. It has expanded. Many principles are clubbed also. Appendices, there are only 3, but details are given in a very detailed manner. Everything is explicitly stated. I would like to define 2 terms under the glossary. One is investigator, a person responsible for the conduct of the clinical trial, including the trial participants, for whom that person has responsibility during the conduct of the trial. If a trial is conducted by a team of individuals, investigator is the responsible leader of the team and may be called as a principal investigator. Suppose a physician is approached by a pharmaceutical company in Subaya to do clinical trial in type 2 diabetes. He is E6 trained, he is GCP trained, he is ethical, he is compliant, and he agrees to do the trial. Now, he will identify one more diabetologist to take care of the patient when he is on leave. To take care of kidney complications, he will identify a nephrologist. To take care of eye complications, he will identify an ophthalmologist, likewise neurologist. To take care of investigational product, he will appoint a pharmacist. ECG has to be sent to the sponsor and it goes electronically. Okay, it's not like routine we send by email or something like that. There is a special way. Even all the laboratory samples, it is not analyzed in the laboratory here. However accredited, whatever it is, they don't accept it. It goes to a central lab, and the central lab currently is in Singapore. From our hospital, all the blood samples have to be shipped to Singapore, and it has to be sent through courier, and there are certain ways to send it. For all these purposes, he will appoint one nurse who will look into this. Okay, then he will appoint one study coordinator, because see, it is such a huge block. The patient doesn't know how to go from here to there. For example, to come here, I needed a support and I accompanied somebody. If you ask me now, go to the gate, I have to really ask, look this side, that side. So there is a study coordinator who will help the patient to move in the hospital. So he builds a team around him. He is the principal investigator. He is accountable. If tomorrow something goes wrong, then nobody will ask the others. Let us say something went wrong with the investigational product. Temperature, it was supposed to be between 2 to 8, and that day's temperature, it was room temperature, 30 plus. Nobody will ask the pharmacist. PI, the principal investigator, the regulator or the company, they will come and ask the principal investigator, what happened? The temperature is 30 plus. So it's a vicarious liability. It is a responsible job. If you are accepting to be principal investigator, then the responsibility comes automatically. Sponsor is an individual, company, institution or organization which takes the responsibility for the initiation, management and or financing of a clinical trial. So sponsor is an English term which like giving money. Okay, I'll sponsor the event, or okay, come, we'll go for lunch, I'll sponsor it. That means I'm giving money. But here the sponsor has to discharge certain responsibilities, then only he'll be called as a sponsor. Otherwise, no. Otherwise, there is a funder. ICMR, DST, DBT, all these are funders. They are not sponsors in the regulatory language. One more term which is newly introduced, sponsor investigator, the dual role of sponsor and investigator. An individual who both initiates and conducts alone or with the others a clinical trial, and under whose immediate direction the investigational product is administered to or dispensed to or used by a participants. Both the role of investigator as well as sponsor. Lastly, the coordinating investigator. Suppose a clinical trial is done at 50 sites in India. One site will be identified as coordinating site, and the PI of that site is called coordinating investigator. This is the proposal, but a lot of issues will come here. Who will be the coordinating investigator? Then the central institutes will say, we are big people, we have to be coordinating investigator. Then all these issues will come. So till now I have not heard in India the concept of coordinating investigator, but these guidelines have just come. But in future, definitely this will come into the picture. There are 11 principles of ICH GCP. Let us go through this one by one very quickly. First one, clinical trials should be conducted in accordance with ethical principles that have their origin in the Declaration of Helsinki and that are consistent with the GCP and applicable regulatory requirements. What are these applicable regulatory requirements? You can do two types of research. One is clinical trials, which is money making, which is for profit, which is for commercialization. And if you are doing clinical trials, you have to follow New Drugs and Clinical Trial Rules 2019. Next is what is done by academicians like me and you. Undergraduate of your institution, they would have approached you, sir, I want to do some research, please help me, etc. They want to do ICMR STS. Postgraduates, you have to do dissertation. PhD, thesis, that is the one that gives them degree. Faculty, I told you, from assistant to associate, promotion or performance, monthly salary, you need publication. All these are bunched together as biomedical and health research. Actually what you do is biomedical and health research. If you are doing biomedical and health research, you have to follow ICMR guidelines. This is what applicable regulatory requirement means. Please remember, this is applicable throughout the globe. I am telling what is applicable to our country. Our country applicable regulatory requirement is, if you are doing clinical trials, follow New Drugs and Clinical Trial Rules. If you are doing biomedical and health research, like what me and you are doing, then you have to follow ICMR guidelines, which is the next talk. Right, safety and well-being of the participants are most important. Make sure that the right, safety and well-being of the participants are not hampered. One or two patients' liver went off, one or two patients landed up in kidney failure after giving you an investigational drug. No, not acceptable. See, if it happens inadvertently or if it happens without knowledge, that is fine, nothing can be done. Knowingly that this is nephrotoxic, knowingly that this is hepatotoxic, still administering without monitoring, this is an offense. This is a violation of this principle. Safety of the participant should be reviewed periodically. As the study goes on, new safety information may become available. Then you have to tell your participants, Ideally, people are not so strict as far as your PG thesis is concerned, because you will not be doing probably an interventional study. Otherwise, in clinical trials, as the new information becomes available, you have to call all the participants and tell them, look, these are all the adverse events that is been seen. Would you like to continue participation? Only if the participant says, yes, I would like to continue, then only you are supposed to continue. You have to give them an option, and this has to be documented. Before a trial is initiated, foreseeable risks and inconveniences should be weighed against the anticipated benefit for the individual trial subject and society. A trial should be initiated and continued only if the anticipated benefits justify the risk. This is what is done by ethics committee, your friend. How many of you have faced ethics committee? How many of you have faced ethics committee? Raise your hands. Most of them, yeah, most of them. I don't want to ask because your higher ups are also here. Definitely, they can't see you, but still, you know, if at all you felt ethics committee is one kind of horrible body which is sadistic, which never gets happy, whatever you do, within one meeting, if they approval, wow, that day sun would have risen from the west. Okay? And they feel happy to make you come again and again present, and, you know, finally, like Tom and Jerry, you know, that kind of a thing. If at all you feel, don't worry, it is everywhere, it's the same issue. Why this is coming? Risk and benefit. Ethics committee is a committee. It is comprised of 10, 12 or 15, up to 7 to 15 people. They are trained. They know what to do. See, you are a novice. I mean, you just entered this and you are just doing it probably either alone or maybe with your guide, okay, or maybe one or two other people. That's it. Probably 2 or 3 people are doing together. Your knowledge is still raw. It is a bit limited. Hence, ethics committee will tell you what you are supposed to do, which you didn't know, and if this is perceived as a kind of a harassment or something like that, okay, probably you need more training like this. If the risk is more, benefit is less, ethics committee will not clear it in one shot, because this committee finds that this is risky and they don't want to pose any risk to the participants. And in their revision form, they have to mark high risk, high benefit, low risk, low benefit. They have to do this marking. When designing a clinical trial, the scientific goal and the purposes should be carefully considered as not to unnecessarily exclude particular participant populations, and should be representative of the anticipated population who is likely to use the medicinal product in future. Sometimes you lay down the inclusion and exclusion criteria so strict and so stringent that, you know, so many people are excluded. When it comes to the market, do you check all these inclusion and exclusion criteria? You will prescribe to everybody, isn't it? That time, what if some harm is done? So what this principle says is, make the group as heterogeneous as possible. Do not unnecessarily go on excluding, you know, make the future beneficiaries of this a part of your research work. But however, if it is proof of concept studies, bioequivalence studies, etc., this much of heterogeneity is not required. You can have a very strict and stringent inclusion exclusion criteria. A qualified physician, or when appropriate, a qualified dentist, in accordance with the local regulatory requirements, should have the overall responsibility of the trial related medical care given to the subjects. That means, who is a qualified physician? This is once again global. Let me remind you, this is global. In India, who is a qualified physician? In India, a qualified physician is a physician who has got postgraduate degree, whose degree is recognized by erstwhile MCI, current NMC, and working in a medical college recognized by NMC. If you are working in a corporate hospital, the corporate hospital should have some accreditation, maybe quality parameter, some accreditation, and if you are a dentist, then the dental counterpart, DCI. So this is qualified physician as per India. And one more unwritten rule is, if you want to be a principal investigator, you should have 2 years of experience. Usually, it is not written anywhere, they won't ask you directly, but unless you are at least 2 years of experience, the company, they will not prefer you as a principal investigator. The fresh pass out MD, MS, or even super specialist for that matter, they don't consider. Informed consent has to be taken. There is one more session on informed consent, so I will cover all these points that time. So let me skip it at the moment. Clinical trial should be subject to an independent review by ethics committee. And the trial should always be conducted in compliance with the protocol that has received prior IRB IEC approval. I think by now this is clear. Without ethics committee's approval, you shall not conduct any research work in your institution, including case report and case series. Now you may think, case report, why we need ethics committee approval? What is there? It's already happened and I'm just presenting. What does the ethics committee do with it? Okay, I'll tell you, ENTPG, any ENTPG is there? ENT or dental? Okay. I'll tell you what happened. Let us say I went to an ENTPG and I had some manifestations of, let us say CA, something like that, and probably that ENT surgeon never thought this can be a presenting feature. He wanted to tell his fellow colleagues, saying that, this can be a presenting feature and this can be malignancy. So he takes my picture and he feels this is a good case report to present in a conference, and like this he portrays my picture, presents everywhere, and the organizers have taken video, photo, everything, and it goes to Google searchable. Then people search for my name and they find my picture and they see the full case scenario, okay, CA, sinus or something like this. I start getting phone calls. Maybe 3, 4, I enjoy, think people are bothered about me and how are you, and I tell them yeah. When it becomes 40th, 50th, then this one, nimge akri, and then health usabri, treatment kodistira. You lose patience. You have got my health status to the streets. You have made it public. Who gave you that right? Why you should know what I am suffering from? Non-stigmatic diseases like hypertension, diabetes are not okay. Still diabetes, why you want to know whether I am diabetic or not? If you are feeding me, yes, you should know, because you should not give me sugary foods. Otherwise, why you have to know I am diabetic or not? Health is confidential. Everybody's health is confidential. That is the reason if you are publishing identifiable features of the patient, ethics committee puts a block to it. That is why case report and case series have to be ethics committee approved, and informed consent also has to be taken. Recently we had a session from BMJ case reports, and they said without informed consent don't submit. And we asked them, see, sometimes after the patient goes, we think after all the laboratory reports are available, then we think it can be made a case report. What then? They were point blank. They said don't submit. We don't accept. So probably we have to keep one template of case informed consent or something like that. Whomever you even suspect that this can be case report, take the signature. Later, even if you throw it, it is okay. But journals, good journals are not accepting without informed consent. Ethics committee is a must. It will not allow you to submit only unless you click that ethics committee's approval has been taken. Extremely important, you have to do it. Clinical trials should be scientifically sound for their intended purpose and based on robust current scientific knowledge and approaches. Many postgraduates and many researchers feel you are an ethics committee. Why are you commenting on study design? Why are you commenting on sample size? Nimge hakidru sabri, nimge enu study sample size. Scientific committee clear madide adu. Ethics committee has scientific people. Ethics committee has all the people. They have right to comment on anything and everything. Ethics, science, money, qualification, everything. There is nothing called confidential with ethics committee. But recently there was actually a talk and we were discussing on a big forum. Ethics committee is more bothered about scientific aspects now. They are discussing ethics committee is behaving like a scientific committee. Ethics committee also should look into the ethical aspects. You should give importance to ethical aspects. That is what they were saying. So in one way you are right, dear postgraduates. If at all you think ethics committee is unnecessarily poking nose into scientific aspects. Sometimes yes. Clinical trials should be designed and conducted by qualified individuals. Okay, qualification. Of course, I don't have to tell you glaucoma study cannot be done by an OBGPG or a postpartum hemorrhage cannot be done by an ENTPG. Of course, that respective qualification has to be there. But nowadays, in my own institution, rheumatoid arthritis, last year, pre-COVID and even during the COVID time, it was done by orthopedician. And last year I got a call from some company saying that, sir, there is a rheumatoid arthritis trial. And I said, yeah, Dr. So-and-so, orthopedist is there, no, he is available. No, sir, that is not the issue. The company wants rheumatologist. So now super specialists are gaining, super specialist or subspecialist, the NMC terminology is subspecialist. They are getting a lot of importance now. Previously, rheumatoid arthritis done by orthopedician, now rheumatologist. Diabetes, which was very much done by physician, now endocrinologist. Of course, ulcerative colitis, NAFLD, the previous NASH, all this is done by gastroenterologist, hepatologist, that is understood. Now, hypertension might go to cardiologist. Okay, you never know, the super specialists are gaining lot of importance. Quality should be built into the scientific and operational design and conduct of the clinical trial, and the quality should be fit for the purpose. This is important, dear postgraduates. You design a CRF or the pro forma, correct? And how does the pro forma look like? General examination, physical examination, cardiovascular system, respiratory system, and you say cardiovascular system, these sounds are heard, S1, S2 heard, and all that respiratory system, non-vesicular breath sounds, blah, 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 blah. You go on filling the pro forma. Why are you doing it? Tomorrow when the statistician gets it, does he have any utility of this? Can he analyze? Are you going to prepare a table out of it? Will a table come out where in general examination, physical examination, etc.? If no, then why are you capturing the data? Whatever you capture, it should be fit for the purpose. That means whatever objectives you have laid down, capture the data that is required for fulfilling that objective. All other things, just because you have to do it as a ritual, don't do it. Simply you are wasting time, you are filling the form. It is not useful for anybody in future, neither statistician, nor the manuscript writer, nor for the journal, nothing. So, it should be fit for the purpose. That is what this principle means. And if at all you feel your patient is not compliant, he is not taking the medication on time, his compliance is only 60-70%, in that case use technology. Send him message every day. I mean, you can design it so that every morning he gets the message, have you taken your medication? Okay, SMS based adherence reminders to increase compliance. All this can be done. Companies, it is all, it is nothing for them. They can all do it so easily. Even for you also, not that difficult, isn't it? And everybody has mobile, everybody goes through messages. Clinical trial processes, measures and approaches should be implemented in a way that is proportionate to risk to the participants and importance of data collected. I told you in the beginning, type 2 diabetes oral medication and gram-negative sepsis intravenous medication. This principle says, give more attention to that gram-negative intravenous medication. You have to be where the risk is proportionate. Now the mantra is risk-based approach, risk-based monitoring, risk-based evaluation. If the risk is more, you should be more vigilant. If the risk is less, I am not saying you can neglect, but you need not be so vigilant because it will be wastage of time. Focus should be on the risk to the participants beyond those associated with the standard medical care. Risk related to the IP when used in clinical trial context may differ from the routine care. Now, you might be using a drug routinely in clinical care. You might be prescribing it every alternate day. The same drug is being studied in a clinical trial or your clinical research, you are using it. You can't take it like, hey, everyday what big deal. No. Your view, your nazariya in viewing that particular medication from research point of view and standard of care point of view should not be the same or need not be the same. You have to be more vigilant in research. You are finding, you are looking for some answers to a research question. Okay, that is what this means. And risks to critical to quality factors should be managed prospectively and adjusted when new or unanticipated issue arise when the trial has begun. Something different has happened which you never thought. You thought the study will go like this. After some time, study left point bere direction hogta ide, yen aagta ide gottilla. In such situations, you have to do risk adjustment. This is called dynamic risk adjustment. I know if I am confusing you with the English and some these jargons, let me explain this with the example. Okay, probably then it is easy to understand. And avoid unnecessarily complexity. Of course, PG thesis is not applicable. Your thesis is so simple sometimes. Your protocol is so simple. Review of literature is hardly 1 page. In our institutions, I am in the scientific committee and I don't know how many postgraduates dash me, like me or hate me or whatever, but with half page, 1 page review of literature, I straight away reject it. I send them back and say, sometimes they say, sir, data is not available. No, we completely reject it. It's not that the data is available, you don't know how to search. Okay, as simple as that. Or you are, I'm sorry to use the term, lazy. That's all. Only these two are the reasons why review of literature is half page or 1 page. You can't build your thesis empire based on 1 page review of literature. And if your guide has approved it, disaster. So this is the critical to quality factors. I'll give you a clinical scenario which you can understand it better. Go through this. See, in oncology clinical trial, tumor size is the most important. If you cannot determine the tumor size, then why trial? Why you do the trial? If that has gone off, if there is an issue there, it has to be tackled immediately. Softwares, on an emergency basis, rectify it. This is endpoint measurement, critical to quality factor. One more example. Go through this. In a cardiovascular trial, ECG is of paramount importance. If the ECG is not transmitted regularly and issues are coming up in ECG, let us say there are some QRS problems, and if the ECGs are not coming regularly, then the site has to be alerted. Look, researcher, you are not sending it on time. You may be on leave, festival or whatever. That doesn't mean that you keep quiet. You have to send it. This is from the safety monitoring, participant safety monitoring. Safety is important. If there are some QT prolongation or something like that, probably the company may stop the trial. 8th principle, clinical trial should be described in a clear, concise and operationally feasible protocol. State objectives very clearly. Let your protocol aim at protection of the participants and derivation of reliable results. Your study will become a publishable paper. This paper will become one meta-analysis in future. This meta-analysis will take part in decision making, policy making, probably some national programs or something like that. If your paper is based on a falsehood, your cooked up data and whatever, sitting in the hostel, bari kano, ಎಷ್ಟು ಏನು ಬೇಕು hemoglobin bari 10, 11 bari laboratory report ಯಾಕೆ? If your study is done based on this falsehood, your paper will be false, meta-analysis also will be skewed, policy will be based on a falsehood. Finally, who is affected? Your own people. It may be your family member, it may be your friends. Hence, reliability and integrity, research integrity is extremely important. It is a punishable offense. Scientific misconduct is a punishable offense. Clinical trial should generate reliable results. It says again and again, it should be fit for the purpose, avoid unnecessary complexity, keep it simple so that anybody can understand. Too much of nitty-gritty is not required. Roles and responsibilities in the clinical trial should be clear and documented appropriately. See, the investigator, the principal investigator has to make a table in which he delegates responsibility. This can become an issue. It became an issue in our own center 2 months back. There were some PharmD graduates who were posted to work in clinical trials, and they had done vitals like pulse, blood pressure, respiratory rate, etc., temperature, etc., and they had done physical examination also, respiratory system examination, and they had signed. So I raised an objection. I went for monitoring and I raised an objection. Then they answered, sir, we are taught how to take blood pressure, pulse, etc. Okay, probably vital, it is okay. Pulse, blood pressure, alli varige chintilla. Physical examination, PharmD graduates, physical examination is not accepted because you have to be a medical professional. Basic MBBS, BDS or at least the related ones. Even BAMS, BHMS, all that is also okay, but you should be a doctor. Okay, otherwise, that is why the investigator has to delegate. Then I looked into the delegation log. The investigator not delegated. Of course, I raised an objection saying that there was delegation log, your name was not mentioned. What I am trying to tell you is, this is very important. Delegate to the qualified individuals. Physical examination cannot be delegated to non-medicos or non-doctors. Last principle, investigational products used in the clinical trial should be manufactured in accordance with the good manufacturing practice and the product specification. It has to be used with the product specification in the protocol. Sorry. Company will be supplying you investigational product worth probably lakhs. If it is anti-cancer drug, it will be in crores. We are all humans. One vial costing 1 lakh. ಒಂದು 5 ವಾಯಲ್ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಆಚೆ ಮಾಡಿ ಪ್ರೈವೇಟಿಗೆ ಹಾಕಿ 50% ಡಿಸ್ಕೌಂಟ್ ಆಯ್ತಪ್ಪ 50,000 ಹೊರಗಡೆ 1 ಲಕ್ಷ ಇದೆ ನಾನು 50,000 ನಿನ್ಗೆ ಲಾಭ 50,000 ನನಗೆ ಲಾಭ ಕಂಪನಿ ಕೇಳುತ್ತೆ ವಾಟ್ ಟು ಡೂ ವಿತ್ ದ ಕಂಪನಿ ದ್ಯಾಟ್ ಒನ್ ಬ್ರೋಕ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಅಕ್ಕ ಏನೋ ದೆ ಟುಕ್ ಇಟ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಏನೋ ಇಟ್ ಸಮ್ ಡೋಂಟ್ ನೋ ಆಲ್ ದೀಸ್ ಥಿಂಗ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಇಟ್ ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಡಸಂಟ್ ವರ್ಕ್ ಇಫ್ ಒನ್ ವಾಯಲ್ ಈಸ್ ಮಿಸ್ಸಿಂಗ್ ಕಂಪನಿ ವಿಲ್ ಥಿಂಕ್ you have sold it in the market and made money. It is up to you to disprove it. If it has really fallen and broken, pick up the broken pieces, suck that liquid, put it in the bag and keep it there for the company to come and inspect. This is how you prove you are not misuse that. They don't mind saying that, oh, 1 laksha waste madidra, ashtu loss aaytu namge. No, they will never think like that. It's nothing for them. 1 lakh is a peanut for them. But they don't want you to take it out and make money. This ethical violation is the thing that they are bothered. Otherwise, they are fine with it. I'll give an example what happened in our center once. It was an anti-cancer trial, oral medication, and we had given them the oral medication and some diary and some materials, etc. And patient was doing, I don't know, fine or whatever. One fine day, the coordinator called the patient and my visits ide madam, next iddu barbeko. Then the son told, amma hogi ಒಂದು ವಾರ ಆಯಿತು. Arey, you never told us. Okay, then immediately all that SCE documentation, everything we did, and we said, okay, please give the material. Company wants the material now. Whatever tablet we have given, diary alla kottidvalla, please hand it over to us. No response from the other side. Then I told the coordinator, probably he doesn't want to come here. We will go and collect. Hardly 10 kilometers from the hospital. We will come and collect. So we told the patient's son, ನಾವು ಬಂದು ಕಲೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ ನಿಮಗೆ ಟೈಮ್ ಇಲ್ಲ ನೀವು ಬ್ಯುಸಿ ಇದ್ದಿರ್ಬೋದು ನಾವು ಬಂದು ಕಲೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೇವೆ ಅದು ದೆನ್ ಈ ಟೋಲ್ಡ್ ದ ಕೋಆರ್ಡಿನೇಟರ್ ಇಲ್ಲ ಮೇಡಮ್ ಅದು ಯಾವುದೂ ಇಲ್ಲ ವಾಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾಪನ್ ಅದು ಭಟ್ರು ಬಂದಿದ್ದರು ಡ್ಯೂರಿಂಗ್ ದ ಕ್ರಿಮೇಷನ್ ದ ಪ್ರೀಸ್ಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾಡ್ ಕಮ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದ ಪ್ರೀಸ್ಟ್ ಟೋಲ್ಡ್ ವಾಟ್ ಎವರ್ ಬಿಲಾಂಗಿಂಗ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಪೇಷಂಟ್ ಎವ್ರಿಥಿಂಗ್ ಶುಡ್ ಬಿ ಪುಟ್ ಆನ್ ದ ಫೈರ್ ನೀವು ಕೊಟ್ಟ ಟ್ಯಾಬ್ಲೆಟ್ ನೀವು ಕೊಟ್ಟ ಡೈರಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ಚಿತೆಗೆ ಹಾಕಿಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೀವಿ ನಾವು ಆಲ್ ಈಸ್ ಬರ್ನ್ಟ್ ಇನ್ ಟು ಆ್ಯಶಸ್ ನಾವು ಐ ವಾಸ್ ದ ಒನ್ ಸಪೋಸ್ ಟು ಡಾಕ್ಯುಮೆಂಟ್ ದಿಸ್ I documented as it is, saying that as per the Hindu belief and as per the advice of the priest, all the belongings of the patients were put into the pyre and everything is ashes, nothing is available now. This is GCP. If you make stories, no, we tried our level best, the patient doesn't want to come, he remembers his mother, he becomes nostalgic, when he sees hospitals, he feels like crying, blah, blah, blah. If I make stories like this, you know what they will think? The patient whom you treated for so long, so many years, you did so much, you gave so many medications, you did so much, you took care, and you could not attract the son and to give the whatever the remaining medications. What is your doctor-patient relationship? It will put a question mark on our doctor-patient relationship. Hence, it was audited by DCGI, people came, I tried to explain this, the body language was like, don't have to, understood. No questions asked. Okay, this is GCP. Don't create stories. Don't make stories. Okay, if you think the other person on other side is has low IQ, little foolish. Okay, actually it is you if you think like that. Everybody is intelligent. All of us are doctors. People can understand what you're telling is a story or it is a real fact. Okay, this is all about IP. It has to be, for example, if the protocol says it has to be given 3 times daily, you have to give it 3 times daily. Oh, it is causing toxicity, so let me give it only once daily or twice daily. No, not allowed. If it has to be given once daily, it has to be given once daily. If you feel, no, if I give twice daily, it will have some efficacy. Now I'm not seeing much efficacy, not allowed. Whatever is given in the protocol, stick to that, adhere to that. Okay, next I'll quickly go through the responsibilities over 5 minutes. Most of things I have told here, just a recap of the same. Investigator has to be qualified by education, training and experience, I told you. Familiar with the IP described in the protocol, demonstrate a potential for recruiting eligible participants. You are GCP trained, you are ethical, and you are sincere, but ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ patience ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಕಡಿಮೆ, patience ಅಷ್ಟಿಲ್ಲ. No, they don't want you. They don't want you. You are roaring practitioner, at the same time ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ದುಡ್ಡು ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಒಂದು ಆಪರ್ಚುನಿಟಿ ಬಿಡಲ್ಲ. If this is your review, then also they don't want you. Patience ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿದೆ, not bad, but very ethical, very sincere. Yeah, this is the ideal person everybody wants. Okay, try to be that. Okay, even though you don't have a roaring practice, have a good number of patients. At the same time, be ethical, be sincere. This is the person liked by everybody. Sufficient time, adequate number of qualified staff and facility to conduct the trial properly. You can't say, oh no, now I don't have time, now the CBME has come, I have to do this administrative responsibilities, I am given this position, now I can't do it. No, what? You should have thought it before accepting. Now that you have accepted it, till the project is complete, dedicate time somehow, finish it off. Next project don't accept. Once accepted, you have to complete it. There should not be any shortcut. Delegation of trial related activities. See, delegate to the proper people. I told you this. However, you retain the ultimate responsibility as a treating doctor. Delegate trial related activities to qualified, supervised and adequately informed individuals to go beyond their usual training and experience. They should not be like, I'm sorry for using the term, frogs in the well. I know only this much, I don't do beyond that. So in research, you should be a bit holistic and you should go beyond this usual training and experience. ಅದು ನಮ್ಮ ಏರಿಯಾ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಅವ್ರು ಏನು ನೋಡ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾರೆ, ನಮ್ಮ ಕನೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಇಲ್ಲ. No, not that. Maintenance of records and delegation of trial related activities. This document is important. Documentation of agreements. See, lot of money is involved. I am sure you know the cost of drug development. For a drug to travel from the lab to the medical shop shelves, how much of money is involved? Sorry, the time is elapsing, so I cannot ask you, but any one or two answers. How much of money is required from laboratory, from computers in a pharmacy college, till, or in an industry, whatever the laboratory, till the shelf of Subaya pharmacy? How much of money is involved? How much of money is required? How many crores? Any idea? Any idea how many crores? You should know, as a practicing doctor in future, you should know the magnitude of these companies. Any idea how many crores? Some figure loudly, utter some figure loudly. ಏನಾದರೂ ಒಂದು ಹೇಳಿಬಿಡಿ, ಏನು ಬಂದದ್ದೋ ಹೇಳಿಬಿಡಿ. Any figure, any how many crores? 100 crores? Okay. If I convert into Indian money, it is around 25,000 crores. Okay, it's a huge money. This is not possible for Indian companies. Indian companies investing so much is, it is only the multinationals, and by convention we don't mention the names of any companies here. But they are very strong and they're huge, very huge. Communication with the ethics committee is the responsibility of investigator. It is you who has to communicate with the ethics committee, but of course R3 allows communication to the ethics committee. They can send mails, etc. They can, but it is through investigator. Usually the sponsor communicates with the ethics committee. You have to comply with the protocol that has received prior IRB IEC approval. Comply with the applicable regulatory requirements. Review deviations that is communicated from the sponsor. See, update the latest information, safety information, communicate to the patient. Okay, all these I have explained to you. Do all these things. This is all the responsibility of investigator. Premature termination or suspension of a trial. Inform all the trial participants. This is the most painful. We have undergone this twice. Patient literally attacked us, not physical attack, verbal attack. ಹೀಗೆ ಮಾಡೋದಾ ಸರ್ ನೀವು ನಮಗೆ? ಅರ್ಧ ನೀರಲ್ಲಿ ಕೈ ಬಿಡೋದಾ? ಏನು ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ ಏನಾಯಿತು? ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಏನು ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ ಇದೆ ಕಂಪನಿಗೆ? These questions cannot be answered, and we tell the company our prerogative. We can discontinue based. This is the reasons. They give some reasons, our prerogative. And these patients, don't underestimate the participants' patience. They wrote to ethics committee. They wrote to ethics committee saying that we were benefited by this trial and this investigator is discontinuing it. Ethics committee summons. What is happening? Why are you discontinuing? Give explanation to ethics committee, give explanation to patients, and of course, we also ate the head of sponsors enough. So all this is a vicious cycle. Medical care of the trial participants is the responsibility of the investigator. You have to take care. If something goes wrong, it is your duty to give care, and if it is related to the medication, free of cost. Anyway, in the next talk, I'll come to this, I'll explain this in more detail. Informed consent of the participants, once again, is the responsibility of investigator or investigator delegated person. There is a separate session on this, so I'll skip this. All this we will see later, informed consent. Sponsors' responsibility, they have to ensure availability of sufficient safety and efficacy data, factors critical to quality that has to be elaborated, inputs from various stakeholders, prepare a protocol, supply the investigational product, of course give money, money is also important, ensure that the sufficient resources are available. Okay, of course the resources are quite good. When they spend 25,000 crores, they give sufficient to the sites also. And there is nothing unethical. I don't have any hesitation in telling how much of money is involved. If it is a multi-center trial, global, sponsored by a US company, US-based company, per patient grant is something like, over a period of 3 or 4 years, it goes something like 8 lakhs, 10 lakhs. If you enroll around 10 patients, it will become around 1 crore. 1 crore over 3 or 4 years is not a small sum. You do some 3-4 trials, then it becomes, once again, 3-4 crores. 3 crores over 3 years is a huge, huge sum. Enough to make the person slip a little bit of ethics. If they are not strong in ethics, they are not trained and they have research integrity. Yeah, I'll just skip this. Monitor is a person designated by the sponsor. She will come to the site. She will ensure that you are doing it the right way. She will make sure that you don't deviate from ethics. She is something like a watchdog who will keep an eye on your activities. Yes, usually as a gender neutral, we mention he all the time, but now I mentioned she. Yes, it was deliberate. If you ask me, I am gender biased. I am sorry to say yes, to a small extent. In my last 25 years of experience in clinical research, I have seen ladies doing the job the best. They know how to handle people. If there is something goes wrong, the men would come and say, doctor, there are so many things have gone wrong, please instruct your staff, please do it, etc. And the doctor, they are dealing with the tough nuts to crack, egoistic people, and me doing mistake, you are a big mistake coming here, and all these dishum has happened many times. The ladies, they took it in a nice way. Good morning, sir. Yes, good morning. Okay, you have got such a nice facility. What buildings and what infrastructure you have, sir. Yes. You have enrolled so many patients. Congratulations, your team. So your team is fantastic, sir. Yes. Now he's already started a little bit. Then she starts. However, sir, few things have to be corrected. Now he is an open box. Now, yes, madam, anything, whatever, we will do it. And, she gets the things done in a very nice way. Purely my personal experience. This is not on any document. This is not on any guidelines. Oh, record aagta idya. Okay. This is monitor. These are her responsibilities. And clinical research coordinator. I told you inside the hospital, the PI appoints somebody to facilitate the movement of the patient. This I can say, I can vouch, I can say very loudly, please appoint ladies only. Patients keep asking the same thing again and again, and we have seen men saying that, yes, sir, one sir, and these ladies, they say same thing how many other times again and again. At the end of the trial, if the trial is over, still these patients come in search of these CRCs. ಏನು ನಿಮ್ಮದು ಟ್ರಯಲ್ ಆಯ್ತಲ್ವಾ? ಇಲ್ಲ ಮೇಡಮ್, ನಿಮ್ಮ ಹತ್ರ ಒಂದು ಮಾತಾಡೋಣ ಅಂತ ಬಂದೆ ಅಷ್ಟೇ. ಸಿ, ದಟ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ಬಾಂಡ್ ದ ಡೆವಲಪ್ ಬಿಟ್ವೀನ್ ಮೋರ್ ದೆನ್ ದ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಪೇಷಂಟ್, ದ ಡೆವಲಪ್ ಬಾಂಡ್ ಬಿಟ್ವೀನ್ CRC ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದ ಪೇಷಂಟ್. We have seen this very often. One more reason is that every time after, at the end of the visit, she gives him that reimbursement of that money. So probably they come again searching that, probably she'll give something. Audit is a little stricter. It is by ethics committee or sponsor, probably a little bit of friendly. Inspection is, call hedkondo. It is little stricter and is done by regulatory authorities. And Indian GCP guidelines are quite old actually, 2001. Let us expect a new one soon, updated one. Yeah, have a look at this. I will not explain. I've spoken enough. It's already 55 minutes. Have a look at this. This is the difference between GCP and Indian GCP. Indian GCP still mentions that Schedule Y is gone. Schedule Y is superseded by new drugs and clinical trial rules. Schedule Y is not applicable. India is still the best country to do clinical research. English, people know English well, cheaper, patient population is available, and we are quite submissive, isn't it? We are not very rude, ruthless, etc. We are quite submissive. The sponsors, especially the Western sponsors, they like all these features in us. They call sub-investigator, we call co-investigator, they call source data, we call raw data, they call IRB, we call IAC, the same. Some institutions call their scientific committee as IRB, don't do it. IRB is same as IAC, IRB is not scientific committee. Further differences. After going through this, I am sure definitely you will agree Indian regulations are one of the most stringent. So don't be under the impression, Indian regulations are lax, anybody can bend it, etc. No, I completely disagree with you. Indian regulations are quite stringent now. Last slide. If you don't learn from your own mistakes, I'm sorry for using the term, they can be called as fools. But a wise man or woman will learn from others' mistakes. These are the mistakes done by others while conducting clinical research. Wise man should learn from this, make sure that these mistakes are not repeated. Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity, and any questions I'm available to answer. Any questions? 1 ಗಂಟೆ ಕೇಳಿ ತಲೆಯಲ್ಲಿದ್ದ ಕ್ವಶನ್ಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಮರ್ತೋಯ್ತು. Yes, sir.
We have used cell reading. But in clinical practice, after few years, they found that it is not effective. Then they have raised it to 10 mg, 25. First they started 5 mg. So how it can be increased?
Sir, usually in clinical trials, based on the data, toxicity data, they would try the maximum tolerated dose also. One arm will be their maximum tolerated dose, and that will be documented. So range to 10 mg or 10 to 20 mg. So in that dose range, anything can be recommended, sir. And the patient lands into some problems. You cannot be rescued. You used a dose which is more than recommended.
But in CKD patients, we have sometimes used up to 30 mg, 10 mg, DA.
Sir, it has to have an evidence. It should be documented somewhere that in CKD patients 30 mg is allowed. It should be documented, it should be approved by the appropriate authority. If it is not approved, if something goes wrong, if the patient drags you to the court of law, you will be prosecuted.
After clinical trials, so we use some other trials. For example, cilindricin, you told 10 mg. But after that, few investigators, they use 20 mg, 30 mg CKD patients. Then how is possible?
Sir, if it is not documented, if it is not approved, then it cannot be used. Sir, clinical trials definitely will be done and it will be available, sir. Probably if you search, you will get articles. It should be published, or at least in the label, it should be there. In CKD patients, you can go up to 30. That is the range will be given, sir. The wide range will be given. In clinical trials, usually the various dosage range, the arms is studied. One arm will have received 10 mg, another.
One more thing, your chairman for so many.
In between 2016 or something like that, the DCGA said he can do maximum 3 trials. Because people who are doing 30, 40 trials, it is impossible. So they said maximum 3 trials. But so clinical trials, active recruiting phase will be very short. Then the trial will be open, but not recruiting patients. Then they said ethics committee, let them decide. Ethics committee has become a very powerful body. Dear postgraduates, ethics committee is the most powerful body in clinical research now. DCG has put everything on ethics committee. You handle it, you tackle it. It is now up to ethics committee to decide. And being the chairperson of the ethics committee, sir, definitely it is, yeah.
So same thing
No.
applies here also.
No. Sir, what? Yeah, I'm in 5 ethics committees of the neighboring colleges. Out of that, one is a scientific research institution, NUCSER, and another is a nursing. Their meeting is once in 6 months. The scientific, their meeting is once in 3 months. Every month meeting is only 3 ethics committee institutions. That is Father Muller and AJ and NITTE, Central University. Mahi, that is our own, so it is considered within the duty. So 3. And clinical trials are not huge in numbers, sir. And what we do is we delegate it to a particular member, like you will look after this, you will look after this, etc. So everybody doesn't do everything. This is how the time management is done. Otherwise, yeah. But it's a valid question, sir. Definitely it's a valid question. Yes, sir.
Majority of our studies start with the study performer. Needed for that particular study, we have to cover in a single performer. They will not be needed to modify in the later part of the studies. Because once we go through the studies, many of the parameters will be missing by conducting the study performer preparation. Is there any particular website or something we have to go through the proper study to look up all the parameters which are needed for the study to be filled before the study performer prepared?
Sir, the website. So what are your objectives? There are templates to prepare protocol. There are templates to prepare clinical study report. Templates are available on the website. But pro forma is based on your objectives. Sir, how many objectives you have? Probably, and one more thing, postgraduates. You think the multiple more objectives, more robust is your studies. Sometimes 4, 5, 8. I don't know, looking at, you put 4, I'll put 5. My study is more robust. Please come out of all these ideas. Your study based on 2 years ideally can answer only 1 objective or maximum 2 objectives. Remaining things has to be classified as secondary objectives. Primary and secondary, classify it. Primary objectives means you have to do it. Secondary objectives, you could not do it fully, at least it is okay. Ethics committee will not mind it. So you lay down the objectives, sir, and to satisfy the objectives, what all data has to be captured. So that only you capture. But what the postgraduates they do is, they see the case report in the hospital. In the hospital, how they are taught, sir, pallor, cyanosis, clubbing, lymphadenopathy, whatever. You put any significant clinical findings. Of course, I am not saying that it is not important. See, for example, pallor. If out of 100 patients you enrolled, some 50 or 60 are showing pallor, probably the drug is causing anemia. There is also a very good finding. But see what is significant. That is significance based findings. Factors critical to quality. That means whatever is required for that objective. Now if it is, let us say, glaucoma. Glaucoma trial, ophthalmology PG is doing a clinical trial in glaucoma. Why are you documenting whether the breath sounds are heard or not? It is an eye drop used in glaucoma. Why are you documenting S1, S2 herd and non-vesicular breath sounds, per abdomen, no hepatomegaly, no splenomegaly? Why are you documenting all this? In what way it is connected to glaucoma? In what way does it have any remote? Are you looking out for any such remote relationship between hepatomegaly and glaucoma, drugs used in glaucoma? No. So by capturing that, you're simply wasting the time. It is not useful for anybody, even for the statisticians, nothing. And when you prepare pro forma, it is better to make something like, of course, I'm going into a little bit of nitty-gritties, yes, no, or something like that, or answer whatever your anticipated answer, 1, 2, etc., so that it becomes easy for statistician. Sometimes you write paragraphs and paragraphs. Who will enter all this data? Who has the time to enter all this data into the Excel sheet or SPSS and analyze? Nobody will do that. So it becomes a kind of a futile exercise. That is what? Fit for purpose. Fit for purpose means what is required to be analyzed, what data, what tables can be prepared. And I hope you got it clear, because nobody can give you a template for CRF because it's objective based. What is objective? If it's a type 2 diabetes trial, then all in and out regarding the table. And sir, when you prepare the pro forma, make sure that am I preparing a table for publication out of it? Only if yes, then only you put that in the pro forma. If you cannot prepare a table or if you cannot prepare a chart, what is the point? Bar diagram or something like that, what is the point? That is the meaning of that, fit to purpose.
Myself Ashita, currently an intern in Subbaya Institute of Medical Sciences. Now I welcome Dr. Santosh, who is currently working as Professor and HOD, Department of Pharmacology and Principal at Sri Chamundeshwari Medical College and Allied Health Sciences, Chennapatna. He has 15 years of teaching experience. Apart from academics, he has additional experience of working in pharmaceutical industry over a period of 7 years. He is an author of Competency-Based Practical Manual of Pharmacology 2023 and has published extensively in national and international journals. He is a member of Board of Studies, RGHS, and the Institutional Animal Ethics Committee, CCSCA, Government of India. His areas of interest are clinical pharmacology, vaccine research, and pharmacovigilance. I welcome you, sir.
Of the audience, before I start a session is, will you enroll your own sister or brother into the study? How confident are you to enroll someone close to you in the clinical trial? So if I ask you that question, you will have hundreds of thoughts. What can happen? Adverse reactions, no efficacy. So when the same thought should appear when you enroll an unknown person. That is ethics for you. If you understand this simple term, then ICH, GCP becomes very easy. So with that, let me start. So I am going to give you a brief account of the ethics in biomedical research. And of course, this document is on the net. It is free for use. You can download. That is Indian Council of Medical Research 2017 is the mother document. And later there was a lot of addendums to this, which I will show you. So this should be my content. Apart from the introduction and the summary conclusion, all other sections are 12 sections which have been presented in this bioethics document. So first it came in 2017. Of course, ICH is there for ages, but in India something seriously started off. ICH is in 2017, and after that lot of addendums have come in. So the purpose is to safeguard the dignity, rights, safety and well-being of the human participants. Not only human participants, even the data, the material we collect, and this must be followed in principle and thought by all the stakeholders, including the institutions, the ethics committees, the researchers, investigators and sponsors. And this document, the biomedical research document from ICMR, contains 12 sections. Coming to the scope, this document applies to all research done on human participants, the materials which we collect from the human participants, and even the data which we collect in form of surveillance, etc. So it should be directed towards enhancing the knowledge. Just because you have to do a study, you have to do a trial, you have to do a thesis, don't do a study. It should enhance the knowledge about the human condition while maintaining the sensitivity to that local culture. And it should be conducted under such that no person becomes mere means for betterment of others. We should not use them for, as you don't use your volunteers as guinea pigs for just betterment of the higher section. And it should be consistent with their dignity and well-being, and subjected to regime of evaluation at all stages. Usually clinical trials, the evaluation occurs strictly at an ethical committee level. Then no one knows what happens to the study. But all the stages, the ethics committee has the right to evaluate how the study is being conducted, how it is reported, how it is published. Now you also have ethical guidelines for publications based after so many predator journals, cut copy issues, plagiarism. So we have separate ethical guidelines document from ICMR. So the basic principles: autonomy, that is respect for the person, respect the volunteer, respect the clinical trial subject, is the core of your study. Then beneficence, there should be some benefit to that person for taking part in the study. Usually in clinical trials there should be some benefit. Of course in community studies the benefit can be passed on to a larger section. Then non-malfeasance, try to not do no injury should be done to the person, either in form of adverse reactions or some inconvenience. You should not take 10 times, you can't draw blood in a day. Then there should be justice to do the study. So these are the 4 basic pillars, like how we tell for democracy the pillars: judiciary, constitution, parliament. Similarly for clinical trials, the 4 basic principles: autonomy, beneficence, non-malfeasance and justice might guide the research in order to protect the dignity, right, safety and well-being of the subject. Right? He should, and who is going to enforce these 4 rules, 4 basic principles? It is the duty of the ethics committee. Ethics committee just sitting in the committee and approving or disapproving the proposals doesn't end. There is a lot of responsibilities in each member of an ethics committee. So generally the 12 principles, so whatever sir has told, almost the same thing I will try to put in one slide. Essential, if it is essential, do the study. Just because you have to do a study, just do because we do thesis. Thesis, I think, untold rule. It is an essentiality. We have to do one thesis, we do some thesis. But clinical trials, when you become professionals, when you start doing clinical trials, there should be some essentiality. Then principles of volunteerness. So you cannot coerce the subjects to enter. Hey, why clinical trial alli engo idya hospital alli enroll madana ivrnobbarna enroll madrappa. So there should be volunteerness. You should not force anyone to get into clinical trials. Then principle of non-exploitation. I don't have to tell you. In our country, most of the places, exploitation occurs at every stages. So particularly the poor patients, the tribal people, you should not exploit them for clinical trials. Then principles of social responsibility. You should have some social responsibility. Just taking care of the patient and leaving away doesn't help. The sociality of the trials has to also be taken into considerations. And sir has already told principles of ensuring privacy and confidentiality. We love to take photographs nowadays and put on WhatsApp. We have done this. But think of the confidentiality of the patient. Someone getting, like sir was telling, 40 phone calls. So confidentiality and privacy should be maintained at all the stages of clinical trial. Everywhere nowadays, even to publish, you have to take a consent. If the data is going to be published, for that time also consent has come. Then the principle of risk minimization at all stages of the clinical trial, try to make the minimum or no risk to the patient, the least harm, non-malfeasance to the patients. Then principle of professional competence. So everyone who takes part in clinical trial, maybe he may be an investigator, he may be a clerk, he may be a person who drops blood, everyone should be competent enough, should be certified in that profession. Many times what happens, sir, clerk is not there, okay, you put this fellow there. Sir, there is no one to draw blood, okay, you ask someone else to draw blood. So that is not how the clinical trials should be conducted. So that is professional competence. Everyone has to do his duty. That is called principle of professional competence. Then principle of maximization of the benefit. So maximum benefit, of course, the maximum benefit ultimately goes to the pharmaceutical company who sponsors the trial. But the core should be that patient who has come forward, who has believed in you, who has come forward to put his life on stake just for the benefit of someone else. The benefit is the larger population. Of course, the hidden benefit is the pharmaceutical company. Principles of institutional arrangements. Every institution where clinical trials are done, there should be adequate arrangements. Many places we don't have a separate research unit or a clinical trial unit. It is run in the same hospitals, run by the same doctors, run by the same clerks. That should not be the motto. There should be a separate, dedicated team for clinical trials. Of course, the clinicians can take part in the studies. Then principles of transparency and accountability. So absolutely there is no place to make any fraud in clinical trials. If the study is negative, it is negative. How many studies you have seen with negative studies you have seen published? Very negligible. If you take a journal, the conclusion will be the drug was found to be better than or equal or something like that. How many studies have you seen? The drug was found to be ineffective compared to the standard drug. So do you think that is ethics? No. Even the negative studies should be published. Then principle of totality of responsibility. ನಮ್ಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲಪ್ಪ ಅವ್ರು ಸ್ಪಾನ್ಸರ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ರಾಗ ನಾವು ಕೊಟ್ವಿ. Everyone is responsible. Even the ethics committee member is also responsible for smooth conduct and safety and ethical conduct of clinical trials. So it is a total responsibility. The sponsor has to take responsibility, the institution has to take the responsibility, the investigator has to take so it is the responsibility of everyone. You can't push the responsibility. Suppose something goes wrong and the patient sues you in the court, everyone will be responsible. And finally the principle of environmental protection. Again, discarding the investigational product. Nowadays lot of genetic testing has started. So again we have separate guidelines for genetic testing. So environmental protection is also equally important. The ethical issues in all these principles, benefit risk assessment. So the benefit should be more than the risk to do any clinical trial. If the risk is more, the ethical committee is very well within its limits to reject the study. Then distributive justice. The benefit that obtained from the clinical trial should be distributed throughout. The benefit should not reach only to the upper strata of the society. The benefit should be for all, including the laymen. Then ancillary care. So you are doing a clinical trial, some other issue arises in the patient. What are you going to do for him? No, you take care of that problem, we will only take care of your diabetes. We will not take care of your hypertension. No. So even that care you have to provide. That is ethics. You can't tell, no, we will only provide as per the protocol medicines for diabetes. We will not take care of your hypertension. So any ancillary care, that also has to be taken. Then Community engagement, very important, particularly when you do a behavioral studies, particularly in community medicine. So there you have to engage the community. Even there will be a small villages, the village head or some panchayat president. So everyone should be, there should not be a secret that something is going on in our village. Everyone should be informed. So that is community engagement. Then of course, I will not going to talk much about informed consent process. Dr. Chennai will be dealing one full session on informed. Then payment for participation, again a very sticky issue. The payment should be good enough to cover his daily expenses. Suppose if he has to come 3 times in a month, he has to pay for he lose his wages that day, he has to spend for his bus fare, he has to have lunch, because once he comes in the morning, you are going to make him, you are going to take data, fill form, you are going to collect blood, might be you ask him to sit 2 hours and again collect blood, whatever. So payment has to be proportional to what he is getting lost. And again thing, you should not overpay him also. So that becomes an incentive to get into clinical trials. So that is again unethical. I'll pay you, I'll pay 10,000 ಕೊಡ್ತಾರಂತ ಈ ಸ್ಟಡಿಗೆ ಸೇರ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋ. That becomes again unethical. So again this amount, again it has to be decided, it will be decided in the ethics committee and they will approve the amount. Then conflict of interest. So very important issue. The investigator who takes part in the study should absolutely not have any conflict of interest. I am an investigator, I am doing a study on a drug from a company where I have shares. Is that right? Is that right? I have 1,000 shares in a company and that company wants me to do a clinical trial. So again, conflict of interest. So that is unethical. So there should absolutely be no any conflict of interest. Then privacy and confidentiality, so that we have discussed. Then compensation for research related harm. Nowadays you can't do a trial without insurance. Any harm be insurance, you have to take the premium before starting the trial, and that has to be such that you have taken the infirmity and insurance has to be submitted to the ethics committee before you start the study, because if something goes wrong, the insurance company will pay. And again, if there is a death, again there is a formula how a compensation is fixed to the patient based upon his age. Then selection of vulnerable and special groups, again a very sticky issue, particularly children, pregnant ladies, tribal people. So again lot of ethics goes into approving studies in this particular vulnerable population. Again I think there is a session on vulnerable population. Then finally the post research assess and benefit sharing. Many times the patient doesn't know what happened to the study which he took part in, because he is paid whatever and he is sent home. What benefit he doesn't know. So the post research assess and benefit sharing also should be given to the trial participants. So there is something called in clinical trials RCR, responsible conduct of research. It is called responsible conduct of research. So values, policies, planning, conducting research, reviewing, report researching. So major components. So there is, everyone is responsible for what role. In the investigator, he can't tell I don't have time. If he is an investigator, he has to dedicate time to the study he is part of. So research, so there should be a research office, institutional policies to protect research participants, assign responsibilities to the stakeholders. It is not something shared. So all this is individual, separate entities. Then the conflict of interest should be established prior to start of the study. Then how do you safeguard the data? It is not like anyone comes in, open your computer and copy the data. How it is protected? Data protection. So if the clinical trial computer and the department computer is same, obviously everyone is accessible to that computer. So privacy and data accessibility is very important. Then prior to start of any clinical trials, we are supposed to register in the Clinical Trial Registry of India. It is a website. So again this is to bring a transparency. So some ethics committee members ask for this CTRI number. When you submit your proposals, they ask for CTRI number. It is displayed. So once you get into the CTRI website, it will ask you the name of the investigator, institution, all that. So once you plug in all the data, finally it will successfully accept and give a CTRI unique number. Then there are issues with publications, particularly ownership of the data. There are fights. Investigator wants to publish his study. The pharmaceutical company doesn't want to publish. Again, there is issues. Investigator wants to present the study in a conference, but pharma people, they have some other plans. Or many investigators fighting among themselves because being a multi-centric. So all this, before you start the study, everything should be put in black and white. Such, who is the owner of the data, who can present, how much you can present, what you can present. Everything should be black and white. And particularly international collaboration, they tell international collaboration, they'll have one center in Australia and 20 centers in India. Is that right? To have an international collaboration, the companies in India, everything is cheaper. You get patients. So they'll put 20 centers in India, and just to make it international, one center somewhere in the abroad. So again, that is unethical. Ethics committee should look into all this. If it is internet, there should be equal distribution among our country and the foreign countries. Then again, issues under multi-centric. Multi-centric is the same study is done in different centers, different medical college. So again, issues will arise. So all this has to be taken care when you approve a study. So ethical review procedures. Ethics committee members must safeguard the dignity, right, safety and well-being. So these four things, when you do any study, keep in mind the dignity, right, safety and well-being of the research participant. So responsible for scientific and ethical review of research proposals. Many times ethical committee will look into the scientific aspects and you may get irritated. Why is ethics committee looking into the dosage or something? So the best thing is they can delegate a scientific committee. Before the proposal comes to the ethics committee, a scientific committee can look into your proposal. And in the scientific committee, you have a subject expert. Once they approve that, then that proposal can come to the ethics committee. So there they will look only into the ethical aspect of how many times you are calling the patient, how many times you are collecting blood, what money you are paying the patient. So let them look into the ethical. Many colleges we don't have a scientific committee, and ethical committee people, they are not they are competent but not subject expert in that particular issue. At least in that time they can call a subject expert and ask, is this the right way? And each member of the ethics committee has a definite role and responsibility, right from the chairman, member secretary, layperson, lawyer. So my next slide I'll just show you. And very important for every ethics committee, there should be SOPs. What is SOPs? Yes, what is SOPs? Standard operating procedures. How the ethics committee is conducted, how often they meet, everything should be there. For voting, how do you approve the communication, everything should be documented. So the ethics committee should function as per the SOPs, and of course the GCP guidelines and ICMR guidelines. The GCP and ICMR gives a separate section how the ethics committee member should function. Ethics committee should be multidisciplinary, competent and independent, very important. And at least 50% of the members should not be from that institution. 50% you can have from Subbaya, other 50% should be from outside the institution. So that is to make it independent. So ethics committee members, usually you have 7 to 8 members. You have a chairperson who is a non-affiliated. Many colleges used to have the principal as the chairperson. Principal can never become a chairperson of an ethics committee of that particular institution. A well respected person from any background with prior experience. You should have some experience. Then member secretary can be from the particular institution. Staff member, anyone with good communication. Then a basic medical scientist. So usually when it comes to basic medical scientist, most of the institution prefer a pharmacologist, usually who is well versed in clinical trials. Then there should be a clinician. Again, it can be an affiliated or non-affiliated. A clinician, any clinician can be used. Then there should be a legal expert, a person with basic law degree with desirable training in medical laws. There are a lot of different laws subsequent. Someone who is well versed in medical laws should be a member of the ethics committee. Then a social scientist, again affiliated or non-affiliated. For behavioral sciences, he can be a philosopher sensitive to local culture and moral. So usually a social scientist, someone from that area, along with a lay person. A lay person can be any person, he can be even a illiterate, but he should be able to understand what his community is going to be subjected to. So the quorum of decision making, minimum of 5 persons. So if you have 7 to 8 members in ethics committee, minimum to make a decision you should have at least 5 members to either approve or disapprove the study, and 1 non-affiliated. In that 5, minimum at least 1 should be non-affiliated. Then all the ethics committee members should be aware of local, social and cultural norms and ethical issues. India is a multi-diversity country, different languages, different cultures, so that has to be respected. And I told you EC can have additional members with subcommittee. EC, many colleges we don't have subcommittees. There can be a subcommittee for some expedited review. There can be a subcommittee for expert review. There can be a subcommittee to waiver, so that there is no much pressure on the main committee. Ethics committee secretary should screen the proposal for completeness. Usually many times what happens, first time the ethics committee member is studying the proposal on the table. That is again unethical. All the ethics committee members should be given adequate time, and the proposal should be sent to them prior to the ethics committee meeting. Many times they are coming and studying the proposal on the table. Again, it is very difficult to decide whether it is a right ethical study or not. Then the ethics committee members have the responsibility to monitor the progress, how the study is going on. Anytime ethics committee member can call the investigator and ask what is happening to the study, how the results are coming up, any adverse reactions. It is legally and ethically is bound to ask these questions, but which is not occurring in most of the ethics committee. Many times once they give approval, the ethics committee member forgets about the study, what happened to the study. And of course, the ethics committee must have an office, SOPs, funds, some funds that should be for the ethics committee, and all ethics committee in India has to be registered with the government of India. And registered ethics committee, you will get a letter with a number that this ethics committee is registered, and because there are again bogus ethics committees that are not registered, which may land you in trouble if you take your approval from those committees. So some ethical issues of protocol. When you prepare a protocol, please take into consideration the social values, benefit risk assessment, payment of participation, community consideration, conflict of all this has to be put in the protocol. Review of informed consent process, how you are going to take the informed consent, then how you having the qualified researcher. You can't have someone having an MD in orthopedics doing a study in a gynecology field. So there should be some qualified from that field. Then coming to the informed consent form, I am not going into detail. Again, Shenoy sir will take a separate session on informed consent form. It's a voluntary return. Informed consent should be obtained as an ICD, informed consent document. Again, voluntary, that word is very, very important. From each participant to protect individuals' freedom of choice. And he has the right to agree to get into your study, or he has the right to disagree to get into your study. It's a continuous process involving three main components. Informed consent, just you take in the beginning and you forget. Throw the informed consent somewhere. It's a continuous process. Provide relevant information to potential participation. So you have to tell all the information. Give him adequate time to decide whether he wants to take part in the study or not. Ensure competence and comprehension of the information. What if your information is in English? He doesn't know English, but your information runs in pages in English. You have taken from ChatGPT or Google the information and provided to the patient. But poor fellow, he doesn't know English. So it again becomes unethical. It should be in the local Kannada language, Kannada, Urdu, whatever language where the majority of the population is. Then you should ensure voluntariness of the participation. You can't force anyone to take part in a clinical trial. So some basic information should be provided in informed consent document. Minimum information. More the information better, but minimum information like the statement mentioning it is research. Many informed consent don't have this statement. We are giving you free treatment. That is what is highlighted just to make the patient enroll into your study. So each clinical trial informed consent document. So I'm sure for thesis also many of you are going to obtain an informed consent from your patients, particularly clinical thesis. So there should be a statement that you are doing research. Then clearly the purpose and method. What is the purpose of your research and how are you going to collect? Then duration, frequency should be mentioned. How long is the study? How often the patient has to come? Then benefit to the participant or community. What benefit he may have, or if he doesn't have, the larger community may have in participating in your study. This has to be clearly put in the informed consent form. Then forcible risk and discomfort. That also has to be explained to the patient. Many times we don't tell about the risk because we fear he may not get enrolled. So that is again becomes unethical. So all the risk has to be explained to the, at least known forcible risk has to be explained. Then confidentiality of the record, how you are going to maintain the confidentiality of his patient. Nowadays everywhere you have know your KYC. Everywhere you go they ask KYC. So our confidentiality has been compromised. We all order on Zomato, Swiggy. So they know the entire data, what you eat, how you eat, what type of food you eat. So where is the confidentiality? So that should not happen in clinical trials. At every stage the confidentiality has to be maintained. Then treatment and compensation for injury. What you are going to treat, and if some injury occurs, how are you going to compensate? That also has to be put in the informed consent form. Then freedom to participate and withdraw. Today the patient may sign your consent form. After a week he feels he doesn't want to participate. Can he withdraw or not? Can he withdraw or not? Yes or no? He is very much in his right to withdraw from the study, though he has given a consent form earlier. Then identity of research team and contact person. So one contact person's number has to be in the informed consent form. Something goes wrong, many times we send the patient and ask them to come after 10 days, 15 days. So something goes wrong, he has to have one contact number. So that number, one particular responsible person's, basically the principal investigator, but if the principal investigator is busy, he can depute that responsibility to his deputy, but ultimately the responsibility lies with the principal investigator. Then additional elements, optional alternative procedures or treatment. Then of course now it has become compulsory insurance coverage, but of course for thesis you people don't take insurance coverage. Then possible stigmatizing conditions, particularly community studies, studies on sexual offences, HIV, sexually transmitted. So all this has to be taken into consideration. Of course, also the biological materials and data including. So you have completed the study, your data is there in the computer. After 10 years, you want to use the data for some other study. So can you find all, will you go searching all those people? So it might be difficult. So again, what are you going to do with the data? That also has to be put in the informed consent form and has to take consent from the patient. Then the period of storage, of course, as Sir showed in his slide, internationally they ask for a storage of minimum 3 years. In India, we ask for 5 years. Then sharing of data and biological materials. You may save the blood and you may ship it to America for some new studies in the future. So how are you going to handle that data? Are you going to take consent of the patient? That's important. Then post-research plan, benefit sharing and publication plan. That also should be put in a ICD. Of course, these are optional. How are you planning to publish international? Are you going to relieve the names, or are you going to put the photograph of the patient or the patient's photograph with the eyes, identity closed? All that has to be put. Again, this is a very important area, research in vulnerable populations. When I tell vulnerable population, people who are not in a position to give a proper consent. It can be an unconscious patients or children's or mentally retarded patients. They don't restrict you. The ICH doesn't tell you should not do studies in vulnerable population. But what measures, what additional measures are you going to take care of these populations? People are considered vulnerable if they are socially, economically and politically disadvantaged, incapable of making voluntary informed consents in emergencies, able to give consent but understanding is compromised, mentally retarded and unduly influenced either by benefit or fear. Benefit is you give more money, fear is if you don't take part in the study, I will not treat you. Very simple. So vulnerability, this has to be taken very carefully in the ethics committee. So clinical trials of drugs and other intervention. OI is other intervention. So clinical trials should be conducted in accordance with some basic guidelines. Number one, the Indian GCP, then the Declaration of Helsinki, then the National Ethical Guidance for Biomedical and Health Research by ICMR, and finally the latest Drugs and Cosmetic Amendment Act. And the intervention. So intervention trials may not be just drugs. When we think of clinical trials, we only think of drugs. It can be vaccines, biosimilars, phyto or radiopharmaceuticals, diagnostic agents, social behavioral intervention, everything comes under clinical trials, some surgical techniques, etc. It is within the regulatory ambit, all CDSCO requirements should be followed by an investor, Central Drugs Standard Control Organization, who is taking the regulatory head of clinical trials. So if students are conducting trials as part of their thesis, the guides and institutions should take the responsibility of the sponsor. Usually when in a pharmaceutical company, there is a proper sponsor who funds everything, who takes the responsibility. So the same responsibility when you do as your thesis, your guide will become your sponsor, not in terms of money, but at least taking in terms of the responsibilities of proper conduct of the study. And of course, EC should register and follow quorum as per. So all ethics committee should be registered under the CDSCO Government of India. And patient not to be charged for trial interventions that are added on as part of research. So no clinical trial participant should be asked to pay for some extra investigations. It is your duty to pay for all that investigation. And of course, ADR of drugs should be reported in a timely manner. Again, we have minor adverse reactions, serious adverse reactions. You have the adverse reaction, it should be immediately reported to a ethics committee. A serious adverse reaction should be immediately reported to the government through your pharmaco ANC center within 14 days. Of course, it should be scientifically and ethically sound, and all preclinical studies, that is the animal studies, should be there. The data should be there before you start a clinical trial. Precautions should be taken to protect participants from harm when a placebo used. Many times, when there is no standard reference, we tend to use a placebo. But again, more precautions. Something goes wrong, how are you going to protect that participant who is taking placebo? So again, a placebo trial ethics committee should put a magnifying lens and look into the study, because one group of the patients are denied the active treatment. Trials on devices, surgical intervention should follow the same requirement as a new drug, that is IP, investigational product. IP is investigational product. Usually any new drug we call investigational product. That investigational product can be a drug, surgical instrument, a procedure, or a behavioral intervention, or a nutritional intervention. And of course, nowadays we have stem cell research, very upcoming, and again ICMR has released separate guidelines for stem cell research. Then extra precautions in involving sexual minorities, intravenous drug abusers, even trial using diagnostic agents. Nowadays, lot of diagnostic agents have come up. Even apps have come up for medical apps due to the possibility of AI. Lot of apps have come. So everything comes under GCP. You can't tell, no, this is an app, sir, we are not doing that, this. Everything you have to follow GCP. Then among women for contraceptives, all these extra precautions has to be plugged in. And finally, nowadays even Ayurvedic and Unani Siddha medications are coming up. So government has brought up a ASU GCP guidelines, separate guidelines for them. I haven't seen these guidelines, but this was mentioned in the ICMR bioethical guidelines. Then there is a separate chapter on public health research, PHR. Benefit and risk in public health may not be limited to an individual. There it is, the public health research, mainly the benefit is directed to the larger population. So, but may influence communities and population. So, social and behavioral studies must ensure social equality. You can't just have poor patients in the study. It should represent a strata of patients throughout the population. Then based on the specific research, appropriate consent process may be considered by ethics committee. Many times you may tell, sir, I am not giving any drug, I am not injecting any drug, please give me an approval. So again, the ethics committee has to decide whether the study has to go for an oral approval or a waiver of approval. Sometimes they can even give a waiver. Stakeholders must take care every efforts to provide post-research public health intervention. So once the study is over, the community or the village where you do study, they should also get the benefit, and they should also be informed about what came out of the study. Support systems such as counseling, very important, particularly we do studies in public health areas. There should be counselors, counseling centers, rehabilitation centers. Sometimes you may also require police protection, some sensitive information you got to collect. So these have to be plugged in when you do studies in public health research. And particularly public health research data can get distributed easily. So measures for data security and confidentiality. In a hospital setup, yes, there is a separate room, a separate computer, a separate person. But again, public health research, everyone is carrying a tab and collecting data, and everyone is sending to different places. So there extra precautions of confidentiality of the data should be maintained. Might be every tab has an coded, only that person can access the tab, and only that person can send the data, something like that. An appropriate expert to address, particularly this public health research, you may have ethics committee can call an expert in that field and take their opinion, because they may not be competent enough. They may be competent enough to approve the normal clinical trials, but in public health research it is something different. It is a different ball game. So you may have to call an expert in that field to take the inputs. Particularly provide designing and execution. if they are likely to have a potential to exploit socially economically deprived population. Usually most of the public health research we do in a deprived populations, in the tribal peoples, in the villages. So EC should take extra precautions and put in measures for the safety and benefit of these vulnerable people. Then human genetic testing. Nowadays this has again grown of recently. Human genetic testing and research requires careful consideration of ethical, legal and social issue. Again legal issue, a big issue here. Test results have familial or social implications, so maintain confidentiality. And when you are doing genetic testing, pre-counseling and post-counseling is very important. Sometimes the patient become very upset. You do some genetic testing in a child and tell the father that at the age of 18 he is more likely to get an cancer. Is that right? Is that right? You do a genetic test today and you tell the father of the child that at the age of 18 he is having a 90 or 80% of getting so and so disease. So again it becomes very disturbing. So if at all you are doing some testing like that, pre-counseling, post-counseling, everything is very important. And informed consent should clearly explain the nature and complexity of information testing. So you don't know what they are going to do, just they tell I will drop 5 ml. With genetic testing they can take you anywhere. So if information is being collected for preparing a family pedigree, informed consent should be obtained from every members of the family. Genetic screening should be purposive for disease management. Only it is for genetic testing and research, only for betterment of the humans in management of disease. It is not to provide some designer babies, to get some special to get children of 9 feet when they grow up, something like that. Genetic reports of late onset disease should be communicated carefully to prevent unnecessary worries. Patient investigation may not be shared with others. Of course, this is for anyone, but particularly genetic testing, very sensitive. Should not be misused for pre-implantation of genetic screening, creation of designer babies, sex, etc. And of course, the labs which are offering genetic testing should participate in quality assurance programs specific for genetic. Of course, even the other labs, they undergo NABL accreditation and all that. That these labs has to go some specific test in genetic test. And finally, I think biomaterials, banking and data set. Sir, we have so much data in our computer, why don't we do some research? Many times principal will call us and tell, so much data in our hospital records, go collect some data and do studies. So again, how ethical without the consent of those people? Is it possible to trace all those people? Very difficult. Many would have passed away. So how are you going to take a consent from person who has died? So ethical issues such as ownership of samples of data, transfer of biosimilars, some blood, some study you have taken blood and done analysis, and still you have so much blood you have put in minus 70 degrees Celsius. So in future you can do some other studies. So how are you going to handle? Then secondary use are important. So data may be anonymous. So completely you would have erased the identifier, or anonymized. Anonymized you would have coded reversibly. If you want you can go back. Or irreversibly you will not know which sample is that. Then multiple layered consent provides option to allow samples. So after the study we are going to send your data to somewhere else. Sir, one more consent. There we are going to do that study, one more consent. So that is called multi-layered consent. So at every stage the patient should give his approval. Many times after the study the patient will decline to use his sample. So you have to destroy his sample. IC should provide information on commercial value of samples or data that with clarity about benefit sharing. Sometimes some commercial benefit will come out of the testing to the pharmaceutical company later on. So how are you going to share the benefit? That also IC can look into, particularly these biomaterials. This data set is nothing but the data you collect from surveillance. You go to a village, collect some data. So these are all data set which is present in your computer. then you should have a material transfer agreement. If you are going to transfer the biosamples to some other place, again consent of the patient. So there is a separate form called material transfer agreement. Then data privacy, security, and legal liability should be clarified if the data is outsourced or sold. Something goes wrong, data is leaked, how are you going to handle? And participants own their biological samples, data. I am telling again and again, whatever the samples the patient use, they own that. You can't tell I have paid the patient, that is the end of it. The data, the biological samples, he is still the owner. If you want to use that for some studies, you again have to take a reconsent from the patient. A donor has the right to ask for destruction, withdrawal of collected samples anytime in the study. And data sets or repositories offer huge potential for research as well as commercialization. So EC should review with caution, particularly these studies. And finally, research in emergencies. So we had the pandemic of corona. So every day there was some new medicines. Someday we were using ivermectin, someday we were using azithromycin, and still we don't know whether steroids helped those patients. So obtaining valid informed consent in emergency situation is challenging as decision making capacity is compromised. If the patient is unconscious or not in a position to give a consent. So research during humanitarian emergencies and distress can be reviewed through an expedited review. So in emergencies you can't wait for the ethics committee to wait, because in your college ethics committee meets once in 3 months. So the next ethics committee is after 3 months. So will you wait during an emergency? So that time you can go for an expeditive review. Expeditive review is again few members of the ethics committee, if not the entire ethics committee members, will sit together and decide whether you can approve the study. So they will give an approval, but after the study, you have to go for a normal ethical review. In outbreak of infectious disease, monitored emergency use of unregistered or experimental intervention may be approved, but with close monitoring. So I told you, we were using all medicines during corona time. So that is called as unregistered or experimental intervention, or we also called as off-label use. Ongoing research. So those times the ongoing regular research can be suspended for time being with the permission of ethics committee. And ICMR, apart from the main, whatever document I told you till now, what's in the main document. So apart from that, they have given addendums. They have given National Ethical Guidelines for Biomedical Research involving children, separate document. Health research involving human, okay, that is an addendum. Policy research on integrity and publication ethics. This one, ethical guidelines for application of artificial intelligence. Nowadays, I think a lot of research is going on AI. So there is a separate document. So all these documents I have put up are there free. You can freely download and go through it. And my last slide, I would like to conclude. Ethical research is essential to protect the dignity, rights, safety and well-being. Very simple words. Of course, the mother document 2017, and we have lot of addendums to it. The core principles: respect, autonomy, beneficence, non-maleficence and justice. Ethical committee review and responsible conduct of research, very important. Very important document, particularly ICD, informed consent document, and particularly in vulnerable group. Special consideration for public health research, genetic, biobanking and during emergencies. So ethics is not a hurdle, it is the foundation of good science. With that, I would like to close my session. Thank you. Any questions? I am ready to take.
When it comes to practice, the results are very, very different. Majority of the studies, I am not telling all, how to rely on these studies.
Yes, sir. Sir, and guidelines. till then we will have this doubt in our mind whether to believe this study or not. So, how much we implement these rules, whatever we are talking, full days for GCP, if these are implemented in the right way, then I am sure we can believe the studies, whatever conclusion we give. Because many times the study conclusion is different, what we see in our practice is different. Sometimes the studies are done in different population and our population is different, genetically we are different. So again we may not see the same results. So that are some issues, but unless that is why separate populations also, separate geographic, cultural, everything has to be considered. Everyone should be equally distributed in the study. Only then we can 100% believe in what the results have been published. Otherwise, until then, we are going to see some difference, what is published in the trial and what we actually see. Like you are telling 10 mg, 20 mg. So those difference always we are going to see, sir.
Previously, spironolactone, whenever there is syrup creatinine inside, don't give. If you prescribe that, usually these nephrologists, they used to say, you don't know anything like that. But now, Pindrinone, the number one drug in the treatment of CKD now, both are potassium sparing diuretics, aldosterone antagonists, and what about the previous study? Now, majority of the studies they say that Pindrinone is very effective in CKD. But what about that spironolactone in CKD? Previous.
Okay. So again, cold storage, that is to make some extra money. So they will promote more of their new molecules. They itself will have the spironolactone molecule. But now the focus shifts on the new molecules, might be the benefit. The new molecules is not off label. The old molecule is off patent. When the new molecule is patent, they want more money out of that. So what they focus their more research, their marketing strategy on the new molecule. So that time we feel that what happened to the old molecule, is that not good? No, that is not the right, sir. It still holds good. Only thing, the pharma people project the new molecule better to get more benefit out of it. That doesn't say that spironolactone you have to put.
That's what it is. The reliability of new clinical trials is definitely in clinical practice we see more than 30%.
Yes, sir.
In 10% of the patients you have to stop.
Yes.
So that is the there is significant
Variation.
1% that side, this side, no problem.
No problem.
But where is 4% and where is 30%?
30.
This is my clinical experience.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Even with other clinicians also, but very common.
Okay.
So that is the thing.
Yes,
So
sir.
credibility is a question.
Yes, definitely, sir. I agree with you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Santosh Kumar, for your crisp talk on ethics in clinical trials. From Department of Pharmacology, we take this opportunity to guide the postgraduates about adverse drug reaction reporting. Regarding that, a Google form has been sent to you in your WhatsApp group, GCP group. Kindly fill that form now itself. Kindly fill the forms now only. And I also remind whoever has not filled pre-test for the GCP, kindly fill both the forms. Here we are heading towards a pharmacovigilance session. Hope you all filled the Google form. Yes. Does anyone know, have you heard this pharmacovigilance? Yes or no? Yes, very good. I hope it is from pharmacology, from your second year MBBS. You all know WHO definition. So, in definition, what are the important points? Not only detection, also assessment and understanding, and it should go till prevention of adverse effects. Overall thing is included in pharmacovigilance. In your day-to-day practice, you might have seen adverse drug reactions. Can you tell me some common adverse reactions in your wards or OPDs? Yes, have you encountered any of the reactions? Recently, one of the ADR I have seen in the wards is to ceftriaxone, rashes to ceftriaxone. And for thrombophobe, there was phlebitis to thrombophobe, itching for thrombophobe ointment, and most of the time in anesthesia for lignocaine there will be syncope, giddiness. They are common and you need to report that. Why is it important? So that it will have, every drug will have batch number, manufacturer name. To give an instance, recently one of the drug was found to cause adverse event and nursing superintendent take the initiative and stopped all the drugs of that batch. So saved many lives, I can say. So that should be the motto of reporting adverse drug reaction. Most of you might not have known how to report it. Now I will give an overview about that. Who can report adverse drug reaction? Only doctors, only nurses, pharmacist, patient. Who can report? Yes, anyone can report. Where to report and what to report? Yes, important things to be there in the report are, the sheets have been circulated among yourselves. That is our individual case safety report form. It says identifiable patient should be there, but patient's name should be only initials, and age, gender are also important. And identifiable adverse event should be there. It may not be the reaction only. Even if there is some giddiness after taking a drug, it may not be due to drug also. You need to report it. It is called adverse event rather than adverse drug reaction. Later they will assess for the causality. Then identifiable reporter should be there, means details of the doctor for the credibility, and identifiable or suspected drug should be there in the individual case safety report forms. These will be available in the casualties. We make sure it will be available from now on at least, or else as we are stimulating you PGs, if you come across any ADRs, kindly report to the Department of Pharmacology by yourselves or send an intern with the details of the case. I hope you will all take this initiative to report the ADRs. This is the form I have circulated already, and there is online database, that is VigiFlow, and we will be uploading these cases into VigiFlow. It's a website. It is from VigiFlow. It will go to, this is the flow, how when a case is reported, where all it goes. AMC means ADR Monitoring Center. All medical colleges are AMCs. From medical colleges, it will go to National Coordination Center, and from there to WHO Uppsala Monitoring Center in Sweden, and also to CDSCO headquarters. And why this is become so much important is, recently you all might be known one adverse drug reaction to cough syrup which has caused death in many children in Madhya Pradesh. You might all be aware. If they would have reported after the death of at least 1 or 2 babies, that drug would have been stopped and many deaths would have been controlled. So now at least take the initiative and report the ADRs. Thank you for giving this opportunity to share my knowledge. Thank you. Now I will hand over the stage to Dr. Ashok Shanai sir to continue on the GCP guidelines.
Good afternoon. Okay, still energy is there. I'm so happy. With the time constraints, I know we are severely lagging. So let me restrict myself to only the crux of the issue. I mean, what is important, what is take home. So I will try to finish by 1:30 because there are 2 sessions cutting down so much will be difficult. So please bear with me till 1:30. So I hope you are mentally prepared. In the previous talk, Dr. Santosh was sounding more of academic. It was like applicable to me and you are right. All academic studies, what we are doing, UG research, PG research, faculty research, all these are guided by ICMR guidelines. Let me change the tone a bit towards regulatory side or industry side. This is what I told you in the morning. You can do two types of research. One is clinical trials or bioequivalent studies, and biomedical and health research. That is UG research, PG, PhD, faculty and academic clinical trials. If you are doing clinical trials, you are supposed to follow New Drugs and Clinical Trial Rules 2019. This has got 264 pages, 13 chapters, 107 rules, 8 schedules, and the 27 forms in the 8th schedule, gazetted and published on 19 March 2019. You know the Indian Gazette, the first half is in Hindi. From page number 147, the English version starts. In pharmacology, probably this was a Viva question for you. Okay, what is orphan drug? And you told it is a drug used in rare disease. Nobody told you how rare. For the first time in India, this rarity has been quantified, and a drug intended to treat a condition which affects not more than 5 lakhs persons in India is called orphan drug. If you are practicing in the United States, then it is 2 lakhs. The same definition, it is the disease affecting less than 2 lakh persons in the US. The drugs used in those conditions, they are called orphan drugs. Likewise, you can do two types of research. Ethics committee's role also has been dichotomized. Ethics committee that oversees clinical trial is called Clinical Trial Ethics Committee. Ethics committee that oversees biomedical and health research is called Biomedical and Health Research Ethics Committee or BHR Ethics Committee. What are the differences between these two ethics committees? Ethics Committee for Clinical Trials supervises clinical trials of drugs, biologics, medical devices for regulatory approval. The data goes to DCGI. Whereas the Ethics Committee for Biomedical and Health Research supervises biomedical and health research. It is for academics, probably for postgraduates. I am sure you are aware. You have to do one poster presentation, one podium presentation, and your paper has to be at least accepted, without which no hall ticket. Okay, this is from NMC, of course. This is a very crucial issue. So to achieve all this, you have to do research. So biomedical and health research. Ethics committee supervises this. Ethics committee for clinical trial has to be registered with the DCGI, that is the regulator. It is called Central Drug Standard Control Organization, and the head of that is DCGI. Ethics committee for biomedical and health research should be registered with the DHR. Validity is now both 5 years. DHR used to give provisionally for 2 years. Now both are giving for 5 years. There is a rule that the distance between ethics committee office and the hospital is not more than 50 kilometers. However, in biomedical and health research, no such specifications. But however, I want to ask you something. Can you supervise a clinical trial or a clinical research done in Manipal? Okay, is it feasible? You have to go there. You have to check all the documents, you have to supervise. I mean, you can't travel so frequently to Manipal and do all that thing, isn't it? So 50 kilometers is a reasonable distance. See, for cities like Mangalore, Manipal, Shimoga, 50 kilometers maybe it can be traversed in 1.5 hours. But imagine Mumbai, Bengaluru, metro cities, to traverse 50 kilometers, probably you need half a day. So this is created with the intention of reducing this commuting time. Ethics Committee for Clinical Trials has to follow NDCT 2019, and Ethics Committee for Biomedical and Health Research should follow ICMR guidelines. Now you might ask me, should an institution have two ethics committees? One for clinical trial and one for biomedical and health research? Answer is both yes and no. Answer is yes, wherein the volume is huge. I'll give my own institution, for example, Manipal, Mahe. Last year, the total number of projects submitted to ethics committees, various ethics committees, was 1,600. It is impossible for even 1, 2 or even 5 ethics committees to examine 1,600 protocols. You will have to have multiple ethics committees. So we have, university has one, each college has one, Kasturba Hospital has one. So multiple ethics committees are required. Whereas if it's a new college, hardly few PG seats, hardly some research is going on. Undergraduate, some 4-5 are doing. PG, some 10, 15 are there. Faculty, some 10 faculty are doing some research. In this situation, a single ethics committee can oversee both clinical trial and biomedical health research, provided it is registered under both DHR as well as DCGI. The document mentions Central Licensing Authority throughout, and the Central Licensing Authority is Drugs Controller General of India, DCGI. If you go by name, it is Dr. Rajiv Singh Raghuvanshi. I mean, he is on extension period actually. Even that extension 6 months, even that is getting over soon. This is new drugs and clinical trial rules, isn't it? So, new drug, there is a definition for new drug. There are 6 clauses to cause drug a new drug. This is a regulatory document, gazetted document. I cannot alter the sentences, then it will become my document. But whatever is important, I have highlighted in blue. Please concentrate on what is highlighted in blue. A drug that is available in the market but not used in the country to any significant extent. Don't ask me, what do you mean by that significant extent? Not clarified. It is available but not used to a significant extent. A drug approved by the DCGI for certain claims and proposed to be marketed with the modified or new claims including indication, route of administration, dosage and dosage form. I will give an example. Let us consider 2 diseases with the same pathogenetic mechanisms. Let us say rheumatoid arthritis and ulcerative colitis. Let me take autoimmune diseases. Drugs used are also very common. Methotrexate and the various adalimumab, infliximab, etc. Even most of the drugs overlap. Now, there is a drug that has come for rheumatoid arthritis, and one gastroenterologist meets rheumatologist in IMA meeting, says, oh, new drug has come and my patients are doing so well, rheumatology, rheumatoid arthritis patients are doing so well. This gastroenterologist has a patient with ulcerative colitis whom he is losing because she is worsening, not improving, the weight is lost, hemoglobin is dropped, and he has lost all the hopes. Now this gastroenterologist wants to try the drug used in rheumatoid arthritis in this patient. Now I want your opinion. Can he do it? Is it correct or incorrect? Correct or incorrect? What is your opinion? Okay or not okay? Fine, not fine? Is it ethical or unethical? Ethical or unethical? Okay. Okay. This is the concept of off-label use of drugs. I am sure you would have heard this term, but probably you didn't know what is it exactly. Just because it is available in the market, using it for another indication, actually it is off-label, it is not as per the label, but it is allowed in India. You can use it. Don't ask me if the patient dies, what is the consequence. If the patient dies, unapproved use and you will be prosecuted. But off-label use is allowed. Now if you want to regularize this use in ulcerative colitis, it is considered a new drug. You can't say it is available in the market. Rheumatoid arthritis, rheumatologists are using it left, right and center. No, sorry, it cannot be. Clinical trials has to be done. It cannot be used just like that. And new dose and the new dosage form. Let me take a simple example of paracetamol. Paracetamol is available as 500 mg, 650. I heard 750 is on the way. And it is available for oral, rectal, intramuscular, intravenous, correct? If I am not mistaken, only this much. Suppose you want to try 850. You felt 850 patients are responding so well. You can't say it's available as 500, 650, 750, 100 mg more, what big deal? No, it is considered a new drug. Now you want to try out subcutaneous route. You can't argue saying that it is available as intramuscular, intravenous. Why can't I try subcutaneous? No, it is considered a new drug. A fixed dose combination of 2 or more drugs approved separately for certain claims and proposed to be combined for the first time in a fixed ratio. Drug A available in the market, drug B available in the market. You are just combining it. No change in the dose, dosage form, nothing. It is only to reduce the pill burden, increase the compliance. Still, it will be considered a new drug because it is a fixed dose combination. a modified or sustained release form of a drug, novel drug delivery system, vaccine, DNA recombinant product, living modified organism, monoclonal antibody, stem cell derived product, gene therapeutic product. All these are considered new drugs. And the beauty of these rules is that these drugs are considered new drugs forever. How long is the drug considered new? New drug status. How long? How long you think? How long is the drug new? For example, newly married. Okay? 1 year. Okay? Wherever you go, what gifting, what menu, what aarti, ಏನು ಆರತಿ ಮಾಡೋದು, ಏನು this one. 1 year ಆದ ಕೂಡಲೇ join the bandwagon. ಏನು ಆಯಿತು, ಮದುವೆ ಆಯಿತು ಅಷ್ಟೇ ತಾನೇ. 1 year, no, lot of this one. So newly married. So new drug, how long? 4 years. Okay? In India, for the first 2 years, every 6 months, PSURs have to go, periodic safety update reports. Next 2 years, every year. So 4 plus 2, 6. After 6 PSURs, the drug loses its new drug status. But these are new drugs forever. Got it? Can you have a spurious drugs in this regard? India is the pharmacy capital of the world. At the same time, sorry to say, India is the spurious pharmacy capital of the world also. A lot of spurious drugs coming into the market. Hence, the government is trying to regulate these. You can't afford to have a spurious drugs in this category. No way. I want you to understand the term serious adverse event, because if a patient undergoes this, you will have to pay compensation. Compensation kodbekagutte. Now, what is severe? What is serious? Severe. I got enrolled into a clinical trial. I developed fever. My temperature is 99, mild fever. My temperature is 101, moderate fever. My temperature is 104 or 105, high fever. I got enrolled into a clinical trial. My hemoglobin was 10.5, which is considered normal. Not normal, but at least acceptable. After 2 months, it became 9.5, mild anemia. After 2 months, it became 8, moderate anemia. After 2 months, it became 6, severe anemia. Mild, moderate, severe. Now, what is this serious? Seriousness goes by definition. So, serious adverse event, any untoward medical occurrence during a clinical trial resulting in death of the patient, hospitalization if it is an outpatient trial, prolongation of the hospitalization if it is inpatient trial, persistent or significant disability or incapacity, congenital anomaly or the birth defect, life-threatening event. If the patient lands up in one of these situations, you will have to pay compensation. Dear postgraduates, in your thesis, I'm just saying, don't mistake me. If the patient lands up into one of these, new compensation kodbekagutte. If the patient goes to the court of law, nobody is there to protect you. No management, no guide, no hospital, nothing. You have to give compensation for the patient. That is why understanding of what is serious adverse event and what exactly constitutes is important. Let me give you some clinical examples wherein you can understand this well. I got enrolled into a clinical trial. One fine day morning, Friday it was. I just could not get up. Headache like crazy. Whole day I didn't get up. In between I had some milk and whatever, but still I didn't want to do that. Night also I could not get sleep properly. Saturday it was kind of work. I didn't go for work. Sunday I was fine, but holiday. Monday I was perfectly fine. I went for work also. I cannot forget that Friday and Saturday. Is it SAE? Yes or no? Yes or no? Answer. Quickly answer. If you answer quickly, we can have lunch quickly. I had to head back to Mangalore. I had gone somewhere, and you've seen the T2 airport, isn't it? I was rushing. I didn't know there is a separator. That glass was such a spick and span clean. I never understood. Went and banged. For a moment, like full blackout I had. Somebody gave a chair. I sat there for some 160 seconds. Then later, of course, I proceeded towards the gate. After 5 minutes, ಅಷ್ಟೊತ್ತಿಗೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಶುರುವಾಗಿದೆ ಒಂದು ಬರೋಕ್ಕೆ swelling. Then I'm a trial patient. I called my doctor. He said, did you vomit? No. Then did you have a blackout? Yes, I had a blackout. Whole thing became black. See, you are a trial patient, don't know intracerebral bleed. I want you to observe for 24 hours. Come to the hospital. Wow, from airport went to the hospital. Nice room, Cloud9 rooms. So nice. I watched 2 movies which you cannot do my lifetime. Nice biryani ಎಲ್ಲ ಕೊಟ್ಟು ವಾವ್ ವಾಟ್ 24 hours ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹಾಸ್ಪಿಟಲಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ದುಕೊಂಡು then I got discharge ಮತ್ತೆ ಬಂದೆ ವಾಪಸ್ ಮನೆಗೆ. ಎಸ್ ಆರ್ ನೋ? Female participant becoming pregnant during clinical trial. She was told to follow contraception. Aitu andlu. One fine day UPT is positive half the way. SAE, yes or no? Yes. I am a practicing doctor in Mangalore. I am doing a clinical trial in ulcerative colitis. One patient got enrolled in Kannur. Kannur is a place in Kerala, 3 hours from Mangalore. Colonoscopy had to be done. Early morning, 6 o'clock procedure starts. Patient tells her, sir, it's difficult for me to come early morning. I have to catch train at 3 o'clock. My house is 1 hour away from railway station. Then night time it's difficult. Can I come the previous day and get admitted? I felt fine. It's okay. You come. The patient comes early. Shopping ella maadi. Madhyana bandu. Ota maadi. Channag malagi ratri. Morning colonoscopy is done. Next day around 12 o'clock he is fine. Ota madkondo. Madhyana patient discharge madkondo hogtare. SAE, yes or no? SAE, yes or no? During examination, after administration of a drug, after some time, the potassium is found to be 6.5. As per textbooks, more than 6, arrhythmia, adidella gottu nimge. All of you are doctors. Patient is not exactly fine, but something is happening, he is unable to tell. Then I gave him some anti-hyperkalemic medications, and after next day it became 6. Then after 2 days it became 5.5. Then eventually it resolved. But hyperkalemia 6.5 is not a small thing, isn't it? It is a serious affair. SAE, yes or no? Okay. Now headache, see, it is not insignificant incapacity or something like that. Significant disability means loss of eyesight, loss of hearing, loss of special senses. Beligge eddaga paraplegia, I got up like this, I could not shake my hands and whatever. No, that is considered significant disability. So this is not an SAE. Sumne 2 divasa headache anta malgidre SAE anta helike agalla. Hit on at the airport. See, it is not like the doctor was my friend and he said, chalo, anyway you come, let us have a gala time, 24 hours. Anyway, you're a trial patient, no, enjoy. No, it's not for that. He was scared of intracerebral bleed. That is why I was admitted. It was a proper admission and it is an SAE. It is a serious adverse event. Female participant becoming pregnant is not an SAE. Of course, his ultrasonography shows some abnormality or the fetus shows some congenital abnormality. That is considered SAE. Otherwise, mere female becoming pregnant is not an SAE. Now, even the partner pregnancy is considered. These are all the Western terms. Indian, you won't call partner, you will say wife pregnancy, no? But they call it partner pregnancy because pregnancy, the man can make anyone pregnant. Colonoscopy, was it an SAE? No, this is a social admission. It is because of train issues he got admitted. I didn't call him. If he was from Mangalore, I wouldn't have admitted him. This is a social admission. This is not an SAE. And hyperkalemia, this is not an SAE. Life-threatening means don't go based on the laboratory values. If it was 7, he would have been dead. If it was little more, he would have had cardiac arrhythmia. No, don't equate that to if and all those things. No. Blood sugar dropping down to 40. If it was 30, he would have suffered permanent brain damage. No, this is not a serious adverse event. Life should be risk at the time of event. That is life-threatening. In spite of this, now also when SAE happens, we at this committee, we sit and think, what to do, whether it's an SAE, whatever. A lot of discussion happens. Central Drug Standard Control Organization, it is a regulatory body for us. Our counterparts are all these. Okay, let me go a little fast. DCGI is an official of CDSCO. If the CDSCO can be compared to a medical college, DCGI is something like the dean of that college. So, he is the head of the CDSCO. These rules go like this. Chapter 1 talks about preliminary, Chapter 2 talks about authorities, Chapter 3 talks about ethics committee. Let me go fast because already Dr. Santosh has explained this under ICMR guidelines. Not much of a difference, only few regulatory terms here and there. Whoever intends to do clinical trial or bioequivalence study shall be required to have approval of the ethics committee for clinical trial registered under rule number 8, and the rule number 8 says that it should be registered under DCGI. Moral of the story is, if your ethics committee is not registered under DCGI, please don't take up clinical trials for overseeing. You should not take up. Of course, companies also won't come. In the DCGI website, there is something called Sugam portal. Under the Sugam portal, it is shown which ethics committees are registered, which ethics committees are not registered. If your ethics committee is not registered, please do not accept clinical trials. because the companies will reject that. It is going to be a futile exercise. Members, everything is the same, 7 members. This is also same. ICMR guidelines mention ethics committee shall preferably have 50% outsiders. But these rules say very clear, ethics committee shall consist. That means half of them should be outsiders. They should not be under the influence of the dean or somebody here. Okay, if the chairperson is from this institute, for example, he will hesitate. Suppose the protocol belongs to somebody, dean's favorite or dean's candidate or somebody, then you don't know what to do. Outsiders don't have such things. Now if I come from outside, for me right thing is right, ethical is ethical. If there is an issue, I don't care who's the candidate, etc. That is the reason why 50% of the members have to be outsiders. Chairperson has to be outsider. Insider, especially dean, medical superintendents, they cannot become chairpersons of ethics committee. Everybody has to undergo training and development programs, and these rules are quite blunt. It says, as an ethics committee member, if you are not willing to get trained, please quit ethics committee. You are not fit to hold the post of member of the ethics committee. Medical scientists and clinicians should have a PG qualification. Undergraduates cannot become members of ethics committee. BDS and MBBS degree holders cannot become members of ethics committee. You should have respective knowledge, clarity of the role. Patient groups also can be invited. Suppose HIV positives. I told you, who else can understand their perspective? They can be invited. Conflict of interest, Santosh sir has explained. Having conflict of interest is not bad, but not declaring, hiding, I won't tell, hope nobody will come to know. Illa. You are having something and not declaring, bekku kannu muchi hal kodange. People will know, social era, where is the privacy now? Okay, there is nothing called privacy now. Better to declare and accept. Somebody who goes through that, this conflict of interest was there. I mean, they will think with that and they will interpret. Functions of the ethics committee, all sir has explained the same thing, but some regulatory term like DCJ authorized officer, all these things will come, that's all. Quorum, these 5 people have to be there. If these 5 people are not there, the meeting shall be cancelled. Last minute, for example, if the legal expert, judge or the lawyer, if he says, sorry, I cannot come because there is a meeting or something like that, meeting cannot be done. It is okay for a place like Mangalore, Shimoga, but what about Bangalore and Mumbai? Let us say college is in Whitefield and people have come from Vijayanagar. College is in KM, let us say Parel or something like that, and people have come from Ambernath to Dombivli or Navi Mumbai. The whole day is gone. That is why institutions appoint what are called as alternate members, alternate medical scientist, alternate clinician, alternate legal expert. If the main person cannot come, alternate person. It has to be identified by the dean, they have to be trained, and they have to be kept in the list of the institute. Person walking on the road cannot be called and asked to attend the meeting. Subcommittees you can have, for example, SAE subcommittee, etc. Subject experts can be invited. Suppose the clinical trial is anti-cancer drugs and the whole committee does not have any oncologist, what they will evaluate? Call subject expert, listen to them. They don't have voting rights. The members have to listen to them, then conclude. Ethics committee has to keep the document for 5 years. And if it is investigator, he has to keep the document for 15 years. If you have an empty flat or if you have an extra house, you can give it for archival. The documents will be sitting there, you will get a fabulous rental and nobody will disturb you. Kurdu galate madodu, party madodu, complaint, even the complaint, nodi nimma tenants hige martidare, nimma tenants hage martidare. No such thing. But it will be blocked for 5 years or 15 years. I am giving you a business opportunity. If you have an empty house, think about this. If you want further details, approach me during lunch. Next is Ethics Committee for Biomedical Health Research, ICMR guidelines. This is already communicated to you. This is with a due respect to the member secretary. Member secretary, I don't know, ಹಿಂದ್ಗಡೆಯಿಂದ ಎಷ್ಟು ಬೈತೀರಾ, ಏನು ನಿಮ್ಮ ethics committee, horrible committee, terrifying committee, you will never be satisfied. ಏನು ಮಾಡೋದು ನಿಮಗೆ ಸರಿ ಆಗಲ್ಲ. Okay, member secretary gets all the brunt. Chairperson external, Utsav Murthy, bartare hogtare, seve ಮಾಡಿಸ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗ್ತಾರೆ. But member secretary is available at the site. So everybody bounces on him or her. Look at the work that she has to do just for registration. Compiling this much, kuttig work barutte. She does all these things. What he or she gets? Extra money she gets? No. Any salary hike? No. Of course, Manipal is giving some performance incentive, some points extra are given if you are a member secretary. They have realized that, this is a recorded session, but still I will use the term. Okay, katta kelsa. It is actually. I won't be wrong if I use the term. This is the format of approval of clinical trial to be used by ethics committee. You can't have a one-page approval letter saying that, dear Dr. So-and-so, your protocol title so-and-so is approved by us, thanking you, member secretary. No. This much detail has to be there. Even if you type in Times New Roman 12 font, this will be minimum 3 pages. So show to the external world that we are a compliant ethics committee, we are a trained ethics committee, we know how the format of approval is. These rules go on and on, it continues. There is one term, academic clinical trial. I want you to understand this term, academic clinical trial. I'll spend 1 minute on this. Dear postgraduates, probably you are doing academic clinical trial without the knowledge that it is called academic clinical trial. Let me define, let me know whether you are doing academic clinical trial. A clinical trial of a drug already approved for a certain claim, that means it should be there in the market. You cannot go to a pharmacy college, medicinal chemistry or pharmaceutics, ask them to do some formulation and you can try it on the patients. No, you cannot do that. It should be available in the market. For example, I told you, rheumatoid arthritis and ulcerative, you can take it for academic clinical trial. Initiated by an investigator like me and you, academic or research institution for new indication, new route, new dose or new dosage form. I have already explained this. Results of such a trial are intended to be used only for academic or research purposes. For you, for poster presentation, podium presentation, publication. For faculty, promotion, or just to raise the collar, or even when they walk, researcher, notary, top 2% scientist ante ivuru, wow, whatever. And you get your dopamine and norepinephrine raised. Yes, it can be used for all these purposes. But it should not be used for seeking approval of any regulatory authority in the world. No DCGI, FDA, you can't submit the data for any regulatory approval. In simple sense, you can't make money out of it. You can't commercialize it, you can't use it for profit making. This is called academic clinical trial. If ethics committee feels that, an investigator or a company is trying to get a backdoor entry in the disguise of academic clinical trials, write to the DCGI within 30 days, wait for 30 days. If you don't reply or don't hear a reply from them, then approve it and write a mail again. Dear sir, we wrote to you 1 month back, you didn't reply, we consider it as approved. Now we are approving this, you are safe. Keep these 2 mails, in case future any dispute arises, these 2 mails will save you. And because of its academic nature, you have to follow ICMR guidelines. You don't have to follow new drugs and clinical trial rules, even though it says academic clinical trials. These are some scenarios for academic clinical trials. Dear postgraduates, have a look at it. Are you doing one of them? If yes, you are doing an academic clinical trial. Ideas for academic clinical trial comes from experience. Okay, your bosses, your teachers, your guides, when they go for rounds, when they see patients, lot of doubt arises in mind. Oh, why is it like this? Can it be like this? Can this be used? Why this disease is going this way? Lot of doubts arise in their mind. All that can be converted into academic clinical trials. This is the difference between sponsored clinical trial and academic clinical trial. Sponsoring, it is by pharmaceutical company because so many thousands of crores nobody can afford. Nobody will give. This has got a commercial motive. Sometimes people tell me, you are a glorified clerk of a pharmaceutical company. I don't counter them or whatever. Actually, in one way it is true. Where is my intellect? Company gave the protocol, company gave the investigation product, company told do like this, and I am doing whatever they say. Where is my intellect? I didn't contribute to the protocol development. I am not contributing to the analysis. I am not contributing to the report writing. Where is my intellect? Academic clinical trial, you are the boss. It is yours. You do everything. Yours intellectual property. No person or institution or organization shall conduct clinical trial of a drug or investigation new drug without permission from DCGI and ethics committee. There are some ethics committees that they say without DCGI approval don't come to us. This is also not correct, because ethics committee members, you are independent. You are not under anybody. Ethics committee is not even under dean. Ethics committee is not under dean. It is an independent body. Hence, ethics committee, they do not require anybody else's approval for their approval. Every clinical trial site shall be overseen by an ethics committee, and the DCGA has to take the decision within 90 working days. I still remember during my early career days, sometimes DCGA approval takes 6 months, 9 months, 1 year. Okay, now it is 90 days. 3 months it will be yes or no very clearly. And if they don't hear in 90 days, it is considered approved. New amendment has come. If the drug is discovered in India, R&D of the drug is done in India or proposed to be manufactured or marketed in India, decision has to be taken within 30 working days. That is the fast track. But if the drug is approved outside India, the same 90 days applies. DCGI puts lot of conditions. Of course, this is not very applicable to you because you are not doing clinical trial. So, let me skip this. I want to concentrate on this. Dear postgraduates, I am sure your ethics committee has instructed you to register on CTRI. If not, your administrators are here. I request them to make a resolution, pass a rule saying that insist all the postgraduate studies have to be registered under CTRI. How many of your studies are registered under CTRI already? Because you have met ethics committee, I am sure you got approval. This has to be done only after ethics committee approval. How many of you have registered under CTRI? Please do it. You won't be able to publish in a good journal tomorrow. In future, CTRI registration number will come under that red asterisk. Without filling that, it won't allow you to go further. You will lose out on a good publication. So please ensure that this one. Sir, please inform the relevant authorities and ethics committee. In the pro letter only, let them put, please register under CTRI, because this is mandatory these days. And this must be done after ethics committee approval, before the first participant is enrolled. If you already started, you missed the bus, you lost it. This is how the website looks like. This is how the drop down menu looks like. This is how the further drop down menu looks like. This much of information should be there with you. 3 slides. After collecting this information, sit in front of CTRI website, because if you don't have this, you can't fill. After ethics committee approval, this much, and this much. After you compile all this information, sit in front of CTRI and complete it. I agree it is a little time consuming process. Okay, I think you can spend this much of time on this. Okay, I don't think so you are an advisor to Chief Minister or Prime Minister. So you are so busy that you cannot spend on CTRI registration. Definitely you can spend the time on CTRI registration. Now don't think a workshop resource person agi bandu battittu hogta iddiralla anta. This is for your good only. You won't be able to publish it. Post-trial access. See, what happens is, in clinical trial, you give a nice life to the patient. Let us say the clinical trial went on for 1 year. Let me sing IBD. 1 year, rheumatoid arthritis, 1 year or treatment span. Nice life they have. They can travel, they can eat little bit, no bleeding, no abdominal pain. They start enjoying life. After 1 year, trial ಆಯಿತು, ಇನ್ನು ನಮ್ದು ನೀವೇನೋ ತಗೊಳ್ತಿದ್ರಿ, ಹೋಗಿ ವಾಪಸ್ ನಿಮ್ದು ಹಳೆ ಮದ್ದಿಗೆ ಹೋಗಿ. They feel deserted, they feel left out, they feel injustice is done to them. Hence, making an investigational new drug available to a subject after completion of the trial, and they should be beneficial. It should be found beneficial for them, and this is decided by investigator and ethics committee. If investigator recommends and if the ethics committee approves, then Indian regulations say very clearly. Believe me, the big boss, the USFDA, is not quiet but is not very vocal about post-trial access. For the first time, a big country like India has been vocal about it, and it is really a proud moment for Indian researchers. It says the PTA can be provided by the sponsor free of cost if there is no alternative therapy for that particular disease, and that investigational drug is found beneficial, plus the patient's legal heir has consented that there is no liability. That means if the patient dies during post-trial access, compensation will not be given. Okay, this is the clause. This is about post-trial access. Compensation, we will have a brief look immediately after this. See these rules, they go on and on. These are the chapters, import, export, not applicable for us, so leave it. This is only for completion's sake I am showing you. These are the schedules for pharmacology postgraduates. Many short notes come from this, but I don't think so. Pharmacology PGs iddara ilva anta. Okay, idre, this is a short note for you. Now, compensation. Let us spend next 10 minutes or so on compensation. This is very important. See, ಏನು ಬದ್ಧವಾಗಿ ಏನು ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಬಟ್ ಇನ್ ಕೇಸ್, see, nobody knows, in case your research participant dies, what is the consequence? You should know what is there for me in store. It should not become, ಗೊತ್ತೇ ಇರಲಿಲ್ಲ ಇದು ಯಾರು ಹೇಳಲೇ ಇಲ್ಲ ನನಗೆ. Okay, you should not land up in that situation. Compensation for the trial-related death and injury is now required. Gone are those days wherein the patient used to say, ಏನು ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಭಗವಂತ ಕರ್ದ ಹೋಗ್ಬಿಟ್ಟ, ಈಗ ಅವನು ಹೋಗ್ಬಿಟ್ಟ, ನಾವಿಲ್ಲಿದ್ದೀವಿ, ನಮಗೇನಾದರೂ ಕೊಡಿ, ಕಾಂಪನ್ಸೇಷನ್ ಕೊಡಿ. So financial compensation is in addition to the expenses incurred on medical management. Please note the three types of payment in clinical trials. First is payment for participation. Looks crude. Payment for participation. You participate in my trial, I will pay you. It's not exactly that. Santosh sir explained very clearly. He applies leave and comes, loss of wages. He spends on transport. Then he has to have food here, food. Under these three headings, you have to reimburse this to the patient. Even for PG thesis, if you give 500 or 1000 rupees to the patient as a reimbursement, ethics committee will be the happiest one. Don't think, oh, now ದುಡ್ಡು ಕೊಟ್ಟರೆ ethics committee object ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. People think if you give money, ethics committee will object. No, it is ulta. But ethics committee doesn't insist because we know how you complete your project. Fee ಕೊಟ್ಟು ಅದ್ರ ಮೇಲೆ thesis ಅಷ್ಟು ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಸ್ಪೆಂಡ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಅದ್ರ ಮೇಲೆ ಪೇಷಂಟ್ಗೆ ಪುನಃ 500 ರೂಪಾಯಿ ಕೊಡಿ, ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗೋದು ಸರ್? We understand that. That is why ethics committee doesn't insist. But if you have some money, if you have some extra funds, if you can give this to the patient, ethics committee will be the happiest. This is payment for participation. Next is free medical management. Let us say the patient has myocardial infarction because of your trial drug and you do angioplasty, etc. You pay for that. That is free medical management. Many of you think that is compensation. Adu compensation Allah. It is not compensation. Compensation is over and above this. Okay, I hope I am very clear. Once again, let me be very clear. Free medical management is treating the patient for the harm that you caused. Compensation is over and above this. Three types of payments. In case, academic studies, PG thesis, in case another adre. That is why ethics committee doesn't approve interventional studies. Manipal has taken group insurance. Manipal has taken group insurance and 3 crores. So henceforth we will approve academic interventional studies also. In case of research related death, group insurance has been taken and they have done that. At least now that premier institutions are doing it, other institutions should follow. Sir, consider. If not now, later. See, this is the causality assessment category that you have studied under pharmacology. This is Naranjo scale, etc. See, in clinical trials, suppose 10 lakhs is the compensation. It is not like if it is certain you pay 10 lakhs, if it is probable 8 lakhs, possible 6 lakhs. No, you don't pay like that. If you are paying full 10 lakhs. If you are not paying, ಒಂದು ಪೈಸಾನೂ ಇಲ್ಲ. It is all or none phenomenon. Hence, in clinical trial, the causality is related, not related. If it is related, you pay the compensation. If it is not related, you don't have to pay compensation. So compensation comes under the 7th schedule and determined by DCGI predominantly. Of course, ethics committee gives its inputs. Investigator also gives inputs. I'll skip this. Yeah. Here, causality is not discussed. Okay, I will not explain this because of the lack of time. Look at this. Here, there is no discussion. Causality is considered yes, and you have to give compensation to the patients. It was quite small, so I elaborated that. This is bigger font, same thing. If there is misconduct, violation, negligence, idella idre, compensation you have to give. The last one, any procedures. I will give an example. Let us say NAFLD trial. You consented. IP not started. Now liver biopsy is done in between because liver biopsy is required, isn't it? During liver biopsy, patient dies. Medication is not started. Eligible for compensation, yes or no? Eligible for, because the study was, the procedure was required as per the protocol. You can't argue saying that IP inu started madilla yen compensation. No, procedure was done as per protocol and the patient died. Yeah, second, this scenario. Compensation is required. Patient was driving bike, car was coming from wrong side and hits, develops fracture. Compensation kodbeka? Yeah, anyways, I'm sorry, the time is really short. I mean, detailed explanation of this, etc., and interaction would have been quite helpful, but have a look at this. You tell me whether related compensation has to be given or not related compensation need not be given. First one, you have to give. Second one, third one, fourth one, negligence, you have to give. Fifth one, depression trial, this is a big catch. Related. See, it's a part of the protocol that the patient was weaned off antidepressants. This is also related. Concomitant medication necessitated by the protocol leading to SAE and the patient dies. Compensation has to be given. You can't argue saying that is not my IP. It is other medication, known medication that has caused death, and death is, it can be possible. You can't argue all that. All that argument has no place in compensation decision. This is the procedure. It looks complicated, but if you're involved in clinical trial, it is not that complicated. It is pretty simple. This is the role, especially the blue one. Have a look. This is as an investigator or ethics committee we have to do. Within 24 hours, SAE has to be reported to, death has to be reported to sponsor, ethics committee and DCGI by the investigator. After 30 days, ethics committee has to report to the DCGI. Of course, this is only for clinical trials. Now, how much? Formulae. How much to give? Yeshtu kodbekagutte? How to calculate this? In case of death, this is the formula. BFR by 99.37. B is a base amount of 8 lakhs fixed by Government of India. F is age factor, the tables are available. R is the risk factor, the tables are available. Of course, if there is an oncology PG here, if it's a terminally ill cancer patients you are enrolling, then only the compensation is 2 lakhs. This whole 8 lakhs, etc. is not applicable. Now, F factor that is given here in this table, R factor, this is also given in the table. All these are given. You have to look into that and calculate. How much is the compensation? Have a look at this. Let us calculate how much is the compensation. This is the formula. This is the data. See, our risk factor is not very clear. The disease, diabetes, I am not sure whether it is complicated or uncomplicated. So, I have taken both. If it is 3, how much? If it is 2, how much? See, one mistake from ethics committee or one mistake from that expert committee, how much loss it causes to the patient. See, if you consider risk factor as 3, then 44 lakhs. If you consider risk factor as 2, 29 lakhs. Of course, it doesn't happen hypothetically. Because of your casual approach, if you decide risk factor as 2, the patient will lose 15 lakhs. So, you should be pakka in these calculations. As per the formula, minimum is 8 lakhs, maximum it can go up to 74 lakhs. However, DCGI has ordered compensation like 1 crore, 1.3 crore. What I am trying to tell you is this is not gospel truth and this is the only thing based on which compensation is decided. No. Other than death, loss of life is the maximum injury. Of course, during one training, one madam said, so how can you say that if the person is alive, then he's looking after cost, nursing cost, medicine cost, it will be much more than the others. So this is the disability. Remember those 5 SAEs. For those 5 SAEs, we are calculating. In case of disability, you calculate if he was dead, how much he would have got, multiplied by the percentage disability. That means if somebody is 100% disabled, 90% of the compensation for death he will get. If less than 100% disability, proportion, it is prorated to the disability. Let us see one example. Read this. How do you calculate compensation? First, this is the data, this much of data you have. The last one, if he is dead, BFR divided by 99.37, the 374, that calculation you do. Now, 50% disability. So, substitute this, compensation is around 12 lakhs. Next is congenital anomaly. What will happen in case of congenital anomaly? Either there is a stillbirth or there is an early death due to anomaly or no death but deformity which can be fully corrected or the child will be disabled lifelong. Child can land up into any of these 4 situations. In that case, a lump sum amount has to be kept as a fixed deposit that would bring in a monthly interest equivalent to half of minimum wage of unskilled worker in Delhi. And I saw unskilled worker in Delhi, the minimum wage is 695 per day, that is around 18,000 per month. This much the child should get. So keep FD that much so that the interest earned is this much. And half of the base amount is 8 lakhs, isn't it? So based on that, half of that, 4 lakhs has to be kept. And give medical care. And if at all there is a heart defect, correction of that, cleft lip, cleft palate, surgery for that, all these things has to be done. In case of hospitalization, this is also SAE, correct? Hospitalization, prolongation of hospitalization. 2 into W into N. W is minimum wage per day of unskilled worker in Delhi, loss of wages, and multiplied by 2 because hospital nobody stays alone, isn't it? Patient cannot be left alone. Somebody has to accompany. So their loss of wage also has to be accounted for. And when you say loss of wages, it cannot be like my salary is 30 lakhs per month, I was hospitalized for 10 days, give me 10 lakhs. No. It is unskilled worker in Delhi, 695 per day. Whatever your salary is, that is real salary is not counted. That means rich people will keep getting more, poor people will be keep getting less. All this has to be mentioned in the informed consent form. So informed consent form taking is an art. You can't tell the patient, ಒಂದು ವೇಳೆ ನೀವು ಸತ್ತರೆ ಅದು ಬರೋ ದುಡ್ಡು ಯಾರಿಗೆ ಹೋಗಬೇಕು? You can't ask these questions. The moment you ask, whatever form you put, in case ನೀವು ಸತ್ತರೆ ನಿಮಗೆ ಏನಾದರೂ ಆದರೆ, the moment you say ನಿಮಗೆ ಏನಾದರೂ ಆದರೆ, ಸರ್ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಕ್ಲಿನಿಕಲ್ ಟ್ರಯಲ್ ನಿಮಗೆ ನನಗೇನೋ ಮದ್ದು ಇದೆ ಕೊಡಿ ನಾನು ಹೋಗ್ತೀನಿ ನಾನು, whatever I am happy with my disease. So but this has to be filled. Nominee details has to be filled. That is written there. In case something happens to you, who should get the money? That is why informed consent is an art. So to address all these, SA subcommittee has to be there, budgetary provisions. Without insurance, ethics committee shall not approve clinical trials. This is a blanket statement. If there is no insurance, don't even approach ethics committee. No point, ethics committee will not approve it. Okay, so this is the end of New Drugs and Clinical Trial Rules 2019. And I think the other one we will touch briefly. Advantages, already informed consent, Santosh sir has covered. So I'll skip most of it because Already Santosh sir explained what is the element of informed consent form under ICMR guidelines, so it is perfectly fine. Disclaimer as usual. This is your Bible, Gita, Quran. Dear postgraduate students, whenever you have time, depending upon what research you are doing, the relevant sections, please refer. Please read the relevant sections in the ICMR document. This is some 178 page or something like that. If you feel this is too much, this is too thick book, yes, they have got a handbook. This is some 28 pages or so. If you don't have time to read this much also, madlebedi research. Don't do research. Because this much of time, I am sure you should spend. 28 pages is not too much. It is just a crux of ICMR guidelines. Informed consent came because of all this. I am sure you know Tuskegee syphilis study. Please remember, this is a cusp. Till the World War II, 1944-45, till that Tuskegee syphilis study was ethical. After that it became unethical. Why? Because penicillin was discovered during that time, invented during that time, and it was not told to these people that now medication has come, still it was denied to them. So from that point of time it became unethical. Let me not explain this Nazi. No, I don't call them Nazi experiments. It is a Nazi cruelty. We don't treat animals also like this, how they treated humans, especially the prisoners of war. Informed consent is a process. It's not like, I'll sign madi. No, it is not that. It involves providing information, make sure that the volunteer has understood or the patient has understood, and they give the consent voluntarily, knowing the fact what they are subjected to. And it is a basic right of an individual. Various codes have been published. These are all the guidelines, etc., which talk about informed consent. 3 main components: providing relevant information, ensuring that it is understood, and assuring voluntariness. Ask the patient, tell me what did I tell you. So ensure that they have understood. Still you encounter most of the patients, not few of the patients, most of the patients, doctor, neevu helidre sari aaytu, neevu helidre aaytu. So much of trust on the doctor. I know some of you may feel like laughing, I wish it was true. But with the seniority and with that doctor-patient relationship, we encountered many patients which say, Doctor, neevu helidre naavu sign marteve. They want the doctor to certify that. Anyway, this is an informed consent document. It has got 2 parts, patient information sheet and informed consent. Many of postgraduates, they submit only that 1-page informed consent form. No, that is not informed consent form. It has to be accompanied by patient information sheet. What you are going to do with the patient, explain that. Many of you tell the patient that it is a new medicine or new technique or a new way of treating. No, it is not a new medicine. It is experimental medicine. State that it is a research. And you can't tell the patient, Nodi, nimage kolle fracture agide, adike nimge anticoagulant hakbekaagtade. They won't understand what is this anticoagulant, what is kolle fracture. So you tell in a simple language that the patient understands. Explain the duration of participation, benefits to the participant or community, foreseeable risk, discomfort, inconvenience, all these things has to be mentioned. This already Santosh sir has mentioned, so let me skip this information in the informed consent forms. Adequate time has to be given. In clinical trials, it is an audio-video consent form. Videography has to be done. Start time and end time had to be documented. And if your start time is 10:10, end time is 10:15, probably the sponsor or ethics committee will raise question, what is this consent form? You may ask me how long is an ideal time? There is nothing called ideal time, but they recommend at least it should be half an hour or so. ಅರ್ಧ ಗಂಟೆ ಅವ್ರು ಕೂತ್ಕೊಂಡು ಎಲ್ಲ ಹೇಳಿ ಮೇನಿ ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟಿಗೇಟರ್ ಸಾಕು ದೂರದಿಂದ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಕ್ಲಿನಿಕಲ್ ಟ್ರಯಲ್ಗೆ. the patient says, I want to discuss with my family, friends, I want to show it to my lawyer. You know, ಇಷ್ಟು 20 ಪೇಜ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೀರಾ, ನನಗೇನು ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಐ ವಾಂಟ್ ಟು ಶೋ ಇಟ್ ಟು ದ ಲಾಯರ್. ವಾಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ಯು ಸೇ? ಲಾಯರ್ಗೆಲ್ಲ ತೋರಿಸುವಂಗಿಲ್ಲ, ಏನೋ ಇಲ್ಲೇ ನೋಡಿ ಏನಂತ ಹೇಳಿ, ಬೇಡ ಅಂದರೆ ಬೇಡ. ಆರ್ ಯು ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಸೇ ದ್ಯಾಟ್? ಆರ್ yes, take wherever you want. Give that provision, let him take to the lawyer, let him not put it on social media. If he puts it on social media, you can sue the patient. These are all confidential, these cannot be made public. Of course, he can show it to family, friends, lawyer, anybody he wants to, and seek clarifications from them. You should use only ethics committee approved informed consent documents. If it's not ethics committee approved, you cannot use it. Simple as that. If the participant and legally acceptable representatives are illiterate, then impartial literate person not connected to the research should be present throughout the consent process. Dear postgraduate, this may be applicable to you. If you come across an illiterate patient, his accompanying person or the legal acceptable representative is also illiterate, then you can't call nurse, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬನ್ನಿ 1 minute ನೋಡಿ ಇಲ್ಲೊಂದು ಸೈನ್ ಹಾಕಿ, impartial witness. No, this is a wrong way, which we do. ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಹಾಗೆ ಮಾಡೋದು. Many people do it, but this is a wrong way of doing. Now you may ask me, who is the impartial witness then? It should be totally unconnected to the patient. Maybe patient party of another patient. Possible, okay, but when you call somebody like that who is standing with another patient, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬನ್ನಿ ನೋಡಿ ಇಲ್ಲೊಂದು ಸೈನ್ ಹಾಕಬೇಕು ನಿಮಗೆ, they may feel what is happening. It is a time consuming process. You have to dedicate lot of time. So consent can be verbal consent, there is no time or there is no scope to take in writing. Of course, this is only in exceptional circumstances. 5 minutes more, ಎಲ್ಲ ಇಲಿಗಳು ಓಡಾಡ್ತಾ ಇವೆ. Okay, so I'm sorry, I am unable to explain the situations where exactly verbal consent is applicable, etc. Reimbursement, I told you this. Mention in the informed consent form that reimbursement will be given. As far as possible, don't use the term free. ನಿಮಗೆ ಮೆಡಿಸಿನ್ ಫ್ರೀ, ಲ್ಯಾಬ್ ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟಿಗೇಷನ್ಸ್ ಫ್ರೀ, ಫುಡ್ ಫ್ರೀ, ಎಲ್ಲ ಫ್ರೀ. ಡೋಂಟ್ ಯೂಸ್ ದ ಟರ್ಮ್ ಫ್ರೀ. ಸೇ ಯು ಡೋಂಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಪೇ ಫಾರ್ ಇಟ್. ದಿಸ್ ಅ ನೈಸ್ ವೇ ಆಫ್ ಟೆಲ್ಲಿಂಗ್. ಯು ಡೋಂಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಪೇ ಫಾರ್ ದ ಮೆಡಿಸಿನ್ಸ್. ನಿಮಗೆ ಮೆಡಿಸಿನ್ಗೆ ಏನು ಚಾರ್ಜ್ ಕೊಡಬೇಕಾಗಿಲ್ಲ. ಬಟ್ ದ ಟರ್ಮ್ FREE ಈಸ್ ಎ ಲಿಟಲ್ ಬಿಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಇಂಟಿಮಿಡೇಟಿಂಗ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಕೋವರ್ಸಿಂಗ್. ಏನೋ ನಮಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಡ್ರೈವ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇರುವಾಗ ಫ್ರೀ ಅಂತ ನೋಡಿದ ಕೂಡಲೇ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಫ್ರೀ ಅದು, ಯು ವಿಲ್ ಸ್ಲೋ ಡೌನ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಸಿ ವಾಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಫ್ರೀ. ಏನೋ ದಿರ್ ಇಸ್ ಅ ಹ್ಯೂಮನ್ ಮೆಂಟಾಲಿಟಿ. This documentation, see, sometimes these participants, they may not like to face you. For example, your study is on some unsafe sex, high risk behaviors, use of contraceptives, or some LGBT community. They might answer your question provided you don't see them, they don't see you or whatever, they don't want to be identified. In such case, online consent can be used very much. Use online consent form and the guidelines allow it. They won't agree to participate if you have to meet them and tell them, because they don't want to be identified. At the same time, you don't know he is on the other side. That is also there, virtual. Dear postgraduates, this is extremely important for you. In this situation, informed consent may not be possible and you have to ask for waiver of consent. Ethics committee so moto does not ask, this is the situation, no, you can't take informed consent. No, you are waived off from taking consent. Ethics committee doesn't do that. You have to request, and ethics committee has to give in its approval letter that you were waived off from taking consent form. Otherwise, when you send manuscript for journals, they will ask, was informed consent taken? Then you will say, no, informed consent was waived off. Where is it waived off? Then you don't know, you don't have the document to say it is waived off. So a letter from ethics committee which states informed consent was waived off has to be there. For that, you have to put a letter. You have to write a letter to the ethics committee. These are some examples given by ICMR guidelines. I have quoted the same. Does your project belong to one of those? Have you sought waiver of consent? If no, if the time is there, at least do it now. You have to give a copy of the informed consent to the participants actually. It should be there with them for their further reference. So steps involved in the consent, preparation of the ICF, give information, use ethics committee approved informed consent form, get the written consent, document it, stating that informed consent was taken, and store it. If there is a new information is available, reconsenting. I have told in the morning, the same thing is applicable. Audio, video recording. What used to happen is, whenever these cases used to go to the court, the patient used to say, ನಮ್ಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಸೈನ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ಫ್ರೀ ಆಗುತ್ತಂದ್ರು ನಾವು ಸೈನ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ವಿ, ಎಲ್ಲ ಫ್ರೀ ಮಾಡ್ತೇನೆ ಅಂದರು, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನಾವು ಸೈನ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ವಿ. And you know the courts, they usually take the patient side. Rarely, unless there is a malicious intention, usually it is favorable to the patient. So, DCGI told, let us get rid of all these janjat, audio video recording. Of course, this is applicable only for clinical trials, there is the regulatory trials, for PG, thesis, etc. This is not applicable. The whole thing has to be recorded. There is a consent for getting videographed. You have to take consent for getting videographed. You can't take somebody's photographs without consent, isn't it? You can't go to somebody and just take photograph and vanish from there, irrespective of male or female. Female especially, you will have its own consequences. But nobody, you can't take anybody's photograph, videograph. Hence, take consent, then videograph, then this is the procedure. There should be like a silent room, camera should be of this size, it should capture this pixel, audio should be heard, and only the connected people should be there in the room. It's not like filled with, it's not a movie that is shot. And this should be kept for 5 years. These are all the pros. Now tomorrow patient can't say, sign madi free agutte anta helidru, that is why I signed. Patient can't say that. It is there, proof, everything is there. At the same time, see the Indian culture. What if somebody is inside a burqa, or what if somebody is wearing gungat? And if it is sensitive, somebody may say, if I am asked to remove that, I don't want to participate. Without that, I will participate. In such case, this becomes not applicable. The patient cannot participate if the face is not displayed. And if it is stigmatic disease, for example, your doctor has to tell, dear so-and-so, you are a known case of HIV and I have this project, you are involved in this project. So the patient might get scared. What if this leaks into social media? Tomorrow on Instagram and Facebook, you are a patient with HIV, my face is shown, everybody will know. They refuse for shooting. So all this happens, hence audio, video shooting is exempted for HIV and leprosy. I don't know why leprosy came into picture here, but it is written like that. HIV and leprosy, only audio. Audio has to be there, video is exempted. Yeah, this I think is the same from vulnerability. If you are socially, economically, politically disadvantaged, I really don't know what is this politically disadvantaged, but not difficult to understand also. Incapable of making a voluntary informed decision, able to give consent, but whose voluntariness or understanding is compromised. Now, let us say I am head of the department. I am, let us say, medicine HOD, and I want to do some questionnaire study on my postgraduates. So I will tell, I will put during a seminar, all postgraduates, please fill this form. You have to fill this form. This is for my research. Do you have the guts to say no? Will you say, sir, I don't feel like filling this form. I am not in a mood to fill this form. I don't want to participate in this study. Actually, he or she doesn't want to participate in the study. You have the guts to say no. Okay, this is where they become vulnerable. Hence, ethics committee does not allow HODs or faculty doing research on the students whom they are teaching or being examiner. Teaching is okay, examiner. So they put a condition that, you refuse examinership. You tell the student, I will not be your examiner. If you want to refuse, please you can refuse. That gives them some autonomy, some guts to say, I don't want to participate. Otherwise, captive population, you have to present. Tomorrow they may say, I want to do some blood analysis of all the undergraduates of the pharmacology. All the students go to the counter and give blood. And somebody may, looking at the needle, she may faint. Vulnerability, they are vulnerable. So who are vulnerable? Have a look. I just have 3 minutes left, 127. So these are vulnerable population. And if these people are your participants, ethics committee has to do full review. No expedited review, no exempted review, full review has to be done. Full committee has to meet. Look at the last one. Hierarchical system, students, employees, subordinates, defense service personnel, healthcare workers, institutionalized individuals. They don't have a say. Whatever their bosses say, that is the thing. They have to abide. They have to get their degree. They have to get their meal. They have to get the promotion in various situations. Terminally ill, they have exhausted all the therapies, nothing, they have left all the hopes. Whatever little thing you give, they will agree. They are also vulnerable population. So if vulnerable, please note, vulnerable people, they also have an equal right to participate. Now, questionnaire study, if I am medicine HOD, I am doing it on postgraduates. Somebody might feel, I want to participate, I want to know what sir is doing. Just because I am a student, why is he excluding me? Okay? Vulnerable population, they also have the right to involve themselves in the study. So, ethics committee should determine vulnerability and ensure safeguards are in place. Research on sensitive areas, mental health, sexual practices, preferences, HIV/AIDS, substance abuse. Support systems to deal with associated medical and social problems. I'll give an example. A researcher, social science researcher, goes to one house and does domestic violence. He asks the lady, does your husband come and drink and come and beat you? And she feels, oh, somebody has come asking something, and she says, yeah, every day comes, he beats me. She pours out. The mother-in-law, he is sitting in the corner, listens to all these things, and as soon as the son comes, give the report. And then ಹೆಂಡತಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಹೊರಗಿಂದ ಯಾರೋ ಬಂದು ನೀನು ಕುಡಿತಿಯಂತೆ ಹೊಡಿತಿಯಂತೆ. Imagine what is her plight from that day onwards. So ethics committee should prevent all these things. In the sense, what safeguards do you have in place? Now you can't say throw the mother-in-law out and then take the interview, but bear all these things in mind. I'm sorry, I'm unable to give further examples. See, domestic violence, genetic disorders, rape, okay, sensitive topics you have to deal with. Yeah, last bit, I think I'll just tell about children because this is applicable to you. Pediatrics. Anybody pediatrics? Pediatrics is there? Okay. You are dealing with vulnerable population all the time. You don't have expedited review, full committee review, and you have to take what is called as a assent. There is no need to document assent for children below 7 years of age. Below 7 years of the age, with a fond hope that the parents, they consider child as their own part and they will not do any harm to the child. Nothing is required. Between 7 and 12, verbal or oral assent is required. It has to be documented. The child was asked and the child has given. Of course, the child will not say, okay, do experiment on me, I am ready, take blood or whatever. But at least a reasonable attempt has to be made. Between 12 and 18 years, written assent has to be obtained. It cannot be called consent because consent is a legal term. Written assent has to be obtained. There is an assent form which has to be obtained. So, for pediatrics between 12 and 18, you should have parental consent form, child assent form. For those doing research between, let us say, 15 and 25, for between 18 and 25, consent form in full. Between 15 and 18, parental consent form, child assent form. Three consent form has to be submitted to ethics committee. Some researchers come, at least not pediatrics, they come age group, they put as 17 to 35 or something like that. So we tell them, why you want that 17, 18? Whole lot of documentation has to be created. One, you add more than 18, you don't have to have this assent, etc. Between father and mother, whom will you consider? Father or mother? Mother. Okay. ನಿಮ್ಗೇನ್ರಿ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಒಂದು ಹೆಣ್ಮಗಳದಿದು these are all we have listened to all these things, and as an impartial legally acceptable representatives, mother's brother or father's brother, whom will you take? Mother's brother or father's brother, both are there in the site. Whom will you take? Mother's brother. Okay, even though we are a kind of patriarchal society, father's brother is secondary. Mother's brother is most important, because he will tell his sister, that is okay, fine, I have gone through it, etc., etc. Anyway, these are all on lighter note. Better to take both the parents' signature. Father may come and say, ಅವಳು ಸೈನ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ಲು ಅಂತ ನನ್ನ ಹತ್ರ ಕೇಳಿದ್ರಾ, ಅವಳು ಸೈನಿಗೆ ಹೋಗಿ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರಾ, ನನ್ನ ಮಗುವನ್ನು ಯಾಕೆ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೆರಿಮೆಂಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರಿ? All this can come. If one parent consent under this situation, deceased, unknown, incompetent, not reasonably available, ದುಬೈಲಿ ಕೆಲಸಕ್ಕಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಇಲ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ, fine. Then you take one parent consider, that is okay. Sex workers, one more stigmatic. They should not feel discrimination. They should not come out and, they should not be subjected to discrimination. Tribal population, if at all you are doing tribal population, take the necessary consents. Competent administrative authorities and inform consent that Mukhiya's consent is also required. Yeah, I think these you will not come back. Terminal cancer patients, if at all, oncology PG is here. Yeah, this we have told you, privacy, confidentiality. Privacy is something to do with the patient, confidentiality is the doctor. I'll give you a small example and close the session. A patient has come with, let us say, some condition, and you want to know whether he is HIV positive or not, because the blood has to be drawn, etc. If it is not dictated by the protocol, the patient will say, doctor, I don't want to talk about it. That is the patient's privacy. It is the patient's prerogative. He can say, I don't want to talk about it. You can't compel him. That is privacy. Now patient feels, yen adigisodu, do you know everything, how the doctor, 2 years back, higegella aitu, nan grahagati chanagirilla, iga positive, whatever. Now it is your duty to keep your mouth shut. This is confidentiality. You can't say, ನೋಡಿ ಅವರೆಲ್ಲ ಇದು HIV ಪಾಸಿಟಿವ್ ಅಂತೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾ, ಬಂದಿದ್ರಿ ಇವತ್ತು ಪೇಷಂಟು, ಕೇಳಿದೆ HIV ಪಾಸಿಟಿವ್ ಅಂತೆ. Even at home you cannot tell your spouse, you can't tell your husband or wife. They may tell the neighbors and friends and something like that, and it may reach them. Confidentiality is a must. It's an obligation of the researcher. I think, yeah. So this is basically the privacy and confidentiality crux with respect to informed consent and these assent, etc. Privacy, confidentiality. This is the take-home message that I have told you. If you have any questions, probably I'll answer. I doubt whether you have any questions. Otherwise, I think we can close. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Passion towards the topic, and hope all our delegates and students are enlightened on the basics of ethics, rules and regulations of clinical trials, and it will be helpful for them if they have become part of clinical trials in the future. And we have sent the post test of GCP in WhatsApp group. Kindly fill those forms.
To stand before you today on behalf of the organizing committee to propose vote of thanks. First and foremost, I would like to express our heartfelt gratitude to Dr. Ashok Shanai for his insightful and enlightening talk on clinical practice. I now invite Dr. Ashok Shanai to come on the stage to accept a token of appreciation. I now invite Dr. Sidlingappa CM, Dr. Mahesh GK and Dr. Abhishek Acharya to come on stage and present and to give the token of appreciation. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Dr. Ashok Shanai, sir. Next, I extend our sincere thanks to Dr. Santosh Kumar. Dr. Santosh Kumar to come on the stage and receive token of appreciation. I request all the participant delegates and delegates to come on the stage. All the postgraduates to kindly come on the stage.